The surface of the open ocean always hides more than it reveals. In calm weather, it stretches out like a horizon of blue glass, broken only by the slow lift of a swell or the distant flash of seabirds tracing invisible lines above shoals of fish. But directly beneath this quiet facade lies a vertical wilderness that few predators dare enter. Sunlight fades quickly here, sinking into a world where pressure rises, temperature falls, and the rules of survival change with every meter of depth. It is within this twilight descent, the realm known as the deep scattering layer, that the sperm whale takes its throne. And among all the hunters of Earth, none descend with such authority or return with such stories carved into their skin. A sperm whale begins its dive with a slow roll, lifting its massive tail flukes into the air before pushing down into the blue. The gesture is deliberate and heavy, like a war general disappearing into a battlefield. The whale's body, longer than any predator that has ever lived, glides downward through layers of water that become colder, thicker, and darker with astonishing speed. At the surface, the whale is warm. At depth, its bloodstream contracts, shunting oxygen-rich blood toward the brain and heart, while muscles rely on stored oxygen bound to myoglobin. The result is a diving machine capable of plunging more than 2 kilometers into darkness and remaining there for nearly 2 hours without returning for air. Every descent is a negotiation between biology and physics. The whale's enormous head, nearly 1/3 of its body length, contains a chamber packed with a waxy substance called spermaceti. This structure, combined with a complex system of air sacs and resonating tissues, forms one of the most powerful biological sound generators on the planet. Using these tissues, the whale emits clicking pulses that travel through deep water like the hammer strikes of an underwater cannon. The clicks intensify as the whale descends, becoming higher in frequency, more focused, more probing. They bounce off organisms within the deep scattering layer: squid, fish, shrimp, gelatinous drifters, creating an acoustic map far richer than anything visible to the human eye. In this abyssal world, light becomes irrelevant. Vision collapses into darkness. But sound travels farther, faster, and with far greater fidelity than in air. The whale's biological sonar scans the landscape with the precision of a submarine, identifying targets that may be hundreds of meters away. It is here, deep within this sonorous wilderness, that the sperm whale becomes the godfather of the deep. The apex regulator of a food web so vast and so poorly understood that even modern science has only begun to chart its edges. A shape moves in the darkness ahead. The whale has detected it not by sight, but by the return echo. Irregular, elongated, pulsing faintly as tentacles undulate through the cold water. It is a giant squid, one of the deep ocean's most elusive predators, a creature that lives in perpetual twilight and rarely surfaces except as fragments washed onto lonely beaches. It moves with slow, hovering movements, propelled by jets of water expelled through its siphon. Its body drifts in a vertical posture, 2 long tentacles extended like antennae. The whale closes in. Sound bursts from its head in rapid clicks, each click a sonic bullet, each return an update on the squid's location, shape, and movement. The giant squid senses the pressure waves and begins to flee, its mantle pulsing rapidly as it attempts to escape. But there is no outrunning a sperm whale in its element. The whale accelerates, body rotating slightly to strike from below. With a snap of its jaws, long, toothed, and designed for gripping slippery prey, it seizes the squid's mantle. A violent struggle follows, invisible in the darkness, but evident in the movement of the whale's tail, as it strokes powerfully to maintain position. When the whale rises hours later, its skin carries new marks. Long, pale scars from tentacle barbs scraping across its jaw and face. Each healed scar is a history of battles won, an archive of hunts fought in absolute darkness. Older whales bear dozens, even hundreds, of these pale streaks, a lifetime of war stories etched into flesh. In some individuals, deep circular sucker scars appear in overlapping clusters, evidence of encounters with giant squid so large that only the strongest of whales could subdue them. These hunts are not rare. Sperm whales feed primarily on squid, not just the colossal species that inspire myths, but entire assemblages of medium and large squid that dominate the deep scattering layer. Their consumption is staggering. A single adult may eat hundreds of kilograms of squid in a day. Multiply this by entire clans of whales hunting across thousands of kilometers of ocean, and the scale becomes vast enough to alter entire food webs. The deep scattering layer is not simply a collection of drifting creatures. It is the largest biomass zone on Earth. And the sperm whale, by feeding at its upper reaches, acts as its regulator, shaping which species rise, which decline, and how energy moves through the abyss. The whale's sonar does more than locate prey. It organizes the hunt. In some deep regions, multiple whales descend in staggered formation, not coordinated like orcas, but aligned by shared opportunity. Their clicks overlap but do not interfere, each whale listening for its own echoes while ignoring those of its neighbors. The result is a loose hunting network. Not a pod, but a collection of individuals whose combined presence suppresses squid populations enough to prevent any single species from dominating. This, in turn, influences fish migrations, as many deep-sea fish feed on smaller squid and shrimp. The whale does not intend to regulate these systems. Its hunger simply becomes the architect of deep-sea stability. As the whale ascends, its body warms slightly. Nitrogen is managed carefully by specialized physiology that avoids decompression sickness. Blood vessels expand, the heart rate accelerates. And once it breaks the surface, it exhales with the explosive release of pressurized air that sends mist into the sky. This breath marks the end of a dive that has reshaped the unseen ecosystems far below. Calves learn these patterns not through direct instruction but through proximity. They follow their mothers during shallower training dives, observing how adults angle their bodies, how they conserve energy, how they remain calm even as pressure crushes the surrounding water into near-solid density. For young whales, the deep is a terrifying place. Silent, crushing, disorienting. But through repeated exposure, they learn the rhythms, the pauses, the listening. Eventually, they will join the lineage of deep hunters, adding their own scars to the family legacy. The sperm whale's social structure mirrors a kind of oceanic dynasty. Mature females form long-lasting clans with stable membership, raising generations of calves that inherit both migration routes and deep-sea hunting grounds. Adult males, larger and more solitary, travel far wider, leaving family units once they mature and returning only during breeding seasons. Yet even these solitary bulls carry the cultural memory of their lineage, the acoustic patterns, the knowledge of productive depths, the unspoken understanding of where giant squid are most abundant. Sperm whales do not make the deep scattering layer safe. They make it functional. Without them, squid populations would surge, consuming smaller fish and destabilizing entire pelagic ecosystems. With them, the deep remains balanced, its vast biomass circulating through a predator that redistributes it across ocean basins. Every whale that surfaces carries nutrients upward, enriching the shallows through iron-rich fecal plumes that stimulate phytoplankton growth. In a subtle yet profound way, the whale's deep-sea hunts fertilize the ocean above, linking the abyss to the sunlit world. Night falls across the ocean. The stars emerge. The surface cools. Somewhere below, a sperm whale begins another descent, slipping silently into the dark. The ocean parts around it, closing behind it like a curtain. Its clicks echo downward, searching. A shape stirs in the deep scattering layer. Another hunt begins. And the godfather of the deep resumes his work, unseen, unchallenged, and essential. The tropical shallows at sunrise seem peaceful at first. A soft shimmer of gold on calm water, gentle currents carrying speckles of drift algae, fish scattering like confetti whenever the light shifts. But beneath this calm is a tension that small fish know instinctively. The dolphins are awake. When the trickster gangs of the coast begin to move, the ecosystem adjusts, schools tighten, stingrays bury deeper in sand. Even juvenile sharks hover cautiously near reefs rather than testing their speed in the open. Dolphins are not passive inhabitants of these waters. They are choreographers of chaos, bending the behavior of entire communities with a mixture of intelligence, strategy, and unpredictable aggression that makes them both adored and feared. A pod emerges in the shallows, sleek bodies slicing through sunlit water with the ease of creatures that understand their environment down to its smallest acoustic echo. Their movements appear playful, even joyous, but they are scanning, listening, mapping, identifying. Dolphins live in a world dominated by sound. Their high-frequency whistles bounce off coral heads, mangrove roots, and the scales of passing fish, returning an audio blueprint of the seascape. With each breath, each click, they paint a three-dimensional map so detailed that they can detect a fish behind a cloud of sediment or sense the heartbeat of a hidden stingray. The pod spreads out, forming a semicircle around a school of mullet. The dolphins do not rush. They position themselves like street enforcers on a corner, blocking escape routes before announcing their presence. Then, in an instant, the plan unfolds. A few dolphins dive beneath the school, rising with controlled bursts of bubbles that funnel the fish upward. Others strike from the sides, driving the mullet into a swirling mass. The school tightens into a glittering sphere, the dreaded bait ball. Every fish in the ball is trying to outrun the others, but a bait ball is not a defense. It is a death sentence delivered with mathematical precision. The dolphins now take turns feeding. They slice through the fish sphere with open jaws, each individual making calculated passes before peeling away to let another in. There is no chaos, no frenzy. Only the organized rhythm of a gang feeding under strict rules, where turn-taking is enforced and violations trigger immediate discipline. Calves learn by watching from the periphery, practicing with smaller schools under the guidance of older females who nudge them into proper angles of attack. Knowledge is not merely shared, it is inherited, taught and refined across generations. Yet this is only the simplest of dolphin tactics. In the estuaries of the southeastern United States, a more elaborate strategy unfolds, one that demonstrates the willingness of dolphins to use their environment as a weapon. A small group enters a shallow creek at low tide. They search for mullet feeding near the muddy banks. Then, in a choreographed burst of speed, the dolphins accelerate in a tight arc, slapping their tails against the bottom. Mud rises in a swirling curtain, forming a ring so perfectly circular it appears engineered. Fish trapped within this collapsing wall of sediment panic and jump, often leaping straight into the jaws of waiting dolphins or onto exposed mudflats where the dolphins can slide up to seize them. This mud ring hunting is not instinctual, it is cultural. Pods that understand it pass the technique to their young. Pods that do not may never learn it. And the precision required, tail strikes at the right velocity, correct spacing, perfect timing, reveals a level of motor intelligence matched by few predators on Earth. In Brazil's coastal lagoons, the story becomes even more astonishing. Local fishermen stand waist-deep with nets draped over their forearms, watching the water with trained eyes. The dolphins approach in formation, driving schools of fish toward the men. At a critical moment, timed with uncanny accuracy, one dolphin performs a distinct roll or dive. This is the signal. The fishermen cast their nets instantly, knowing that the dolphin's maneuver has positioned the fish for capture. If the nets fall correctly, the dolphins dart beneath them, eating the fish that spill out from the edges. This cooperation is voluntary. Dolphins initiate it. They choose which fishermen to assist. They decide when the hunt begins and when it ends. And in some regions, families of dolphins maintain relationships with families of humans, spanning generations. These alliances are not random acts of friendliness. They are strategic partnerships forged by centuries of mutual benefit. But beneath this collaborative brilliance lies the darker, more brutal side of dolphin society, a side rarely shown in tourist brochures or nature documentaries. Dolphins are not gentle beings. They are mammals with complex emotions, strong social bonds, and a capacity for violence that rivals primates. Infanticide occurs within dolphin communities. Adult males, especially during periods of resource scarcity or social upheaval, have been documented killing calves that are not their own. The purpose is biological. Females that lose calves return to fertility more quickly, giving males a chance to sire offspring. But the act itself is chilling. A burst of aggression targeting the youngest and most vulnerable members of the pod. Bullying is common. Subdominant males, juveniles, and even some adult females are subjected to prolonged harassment by stronger individuals. These conflicts shape the hierarchy of the pod, maintaining order but leaving scars both physical and psychological. Dolphins hold grudges. They remember slights. They punish violations of group norms with persistence that reflects not instinct but social calculation. Dolphins also display a striking willingness to confront sharks, not always out of defense, but sometimes out of dominance. A group of dolphins spots a lone shark, a blacktip or a spinner shark, trying to feed in the shallows. The dolphins form a loose ring, testing the shark's reactions. If the shark poses no threat, the dolphins may leave it alone. But if the shark approaches calves or interrupts a hunt, the dolphins strike back with brutal precision. They ram the shark's flank with their powerful snouts, targeting the gills or stomach. A well-placed hit can rupture internal organs. A second hit can incapacitate the shark completely, and unlike orcas, dolphins rarely consume the sharks they kill. These attacks are messages, acts of territorial enforcement to remind the ecosystem who controls the real estate. Even cooperation within the pod can take on a ruthless edge. During breeding season, males form alliances, temporary coalitions that resemble street gangs more than structured family units. Pairs or trios of males isolate a receptive female, attempting to guard her from rivals. These alliances are fluid, shifting with circumstances. The males cooperate for immediate gain, but may betray each other when the opportunity arises. The complexity of these behaviors makes dolphins one of the most socially advanced predators in the ocean, but also one of the most unpredictable. A pod that cooperates with fishermen in the morning may bully juvenile dolphins by afternoon. A group that performs synchronized hunting with elegance may attack an injured shark with sudden fury. Their intelligence does not make them moral, it makes them strategic. That strategy shapes the ecosystems they dominate. Fish behavior changes in the presence of dolphins. Schools remain tighter. Spawning events shift in timing. Juvenile fish seek refuge in deeper seagrass beds, altering the distribution of species not by predation alone, but by fear. Even sharks modify their movement patterns, avoiding areas frequented by large dolphin gangs. The dolphins do not just hunt these waters, they regulate them. At dusk, the pod gathers near the reef edge. Calves practice tail slaps in shallow water, watched closely by older sisters. Adult males cruise the deeper edge of the drop-off, scanning for sharks or rival pods. The matriarch leads the group back towards safer waters, her clicks guiding them through the fading light. The day has been productive. Fish herded, partnerships upheld, young trained, boundaries enforced. As darkness spreads and the water cools, the dolphins disappear into deeper channels, leaving behind an ecosystem subtly reconfigured by their presence. Every predator leaves a mark, but the mark left by dolphins is one of manipulation, collaboration, and control. A blend of charm and brutality that feels unmistakably like the work of trickster gangs running the coast. Cute on the surface, calculating beneath, ruthless when needed. The ocean remembers them not as the smiling icons on postcards, but as one of its most cunning, adaptive, and unpredictable forces. The water inside a tropical lagoon looks harmless at first glance, turquoise, sun-warmed, gentle enough to reveal the white sand beneath. But that brightness is deceptive, because within that crystalline clarity hides one of the most unnerving predators in the shallow ocean. A hunter that does not glide like a shark or stalk like a grouper, but appears in the frame as if carved from polished metal and sharpened into a single lethal line. The great barracuda is a creature that must be seen once to be remembered forever. Long, rigid, motionless in the water column, it hovers with the same tension as a coiled spring or a held breath. Nothing else in the reef behaves quite like it. It does not swim so much as it waits, suspended in perfect stillness, as though conserving energy for a kill that could occur in the next second or in the next hour. The barracuda's body is a silver blade honed by evolution. Scales reflect light like hammered steel, scattering patches of brightness that break up its outline. Its elongated form is pure efficiency, a narrow head tapering into a torpedo of muscle, built for acceleration rather than endurance. The jaw, long and hinged like a trap, contains 2 rows of teeth, the outer row shaped like knives, the inner row shaped like spikes. These teeth are not merely for gripping. They are for cutting through dense shoals of baitfish, slicing flesh with near-surgical precision. When the barracuda strikes, it does not nibble. It amputates. It dismembers. It removes chunks as cleanly as a butcher's cleaver. Yet the most disturbing feature of all is its eyes. The barracuda watches the world with cold, unblinking precision. Unlike sharks, which constantly swim to breathe, barracudas can remain perfectly suspended, balancing their buoyancy so flawlessly that even their fins stop moving. To divers, this stillness feels predatory, not aggressive, but evaluating. The barracuda performs a kind of silent mathematics: distance, angle, light refraction, speed of potential prey, distortions created by bubbles, and sometimes even reflections from objects it cannot identify. A creature that hunts by explosive bursts needs accuracy more than stealth, and accuracy comes from observation. In the shallows of a calm morning, a school of half-beaks flicker along the surface like scattered sparks. Below them, deeper but still in bright light, a lone barracuda hovers. Its body is still, but its mind is not. The fish school shifts direction. The barracuda repositions with only the faint flick of a tail. It does not chase them. It waits for the weak one, the lagging one, the fish that turns a fraction too late. That moment is the trigger. The barracuda transforms from sculpture into missile. The water barely wakes before it has already crossed the distance. The speed, estimated at bursts exceeding 40 kilometers an hour across short distances, is so extreme that even slow-motion footage struggles to keep the predator in frame. The strike is a short, violent surge, ending in a crunch that echoes faintly underwater, followed by a sudden snowfall of silver scales drifting like glitter. Unlike sharks, barracudas do not rely on smell or distant chemical trails. Their hunting is visual and opportunistic, built around clarity, sunlight, and sudden movement. The tropical shallows, often avoided by larger predators due to their heat and human activity, provide the perfect theater for a hunter that thrives on light. The barracuda uses sunbeams as camouflage. It aligns its silver body with streaks of brightness, so its shape dissolves into the shimmering water. Prey does not register a threat until the predator is already accelerating. One of the most surprising behaviors of the barracuda is its tendency to follow divers. It does not stalk them as prey. Instead, it uses them. Divers kick up small fish, disturb patches of sand, create flashes of metal from camera gear or watches. The barracuda positions itself behind or beside divers, as if treating them like large, clumsy groupers that flush prey from hiding. Many divers describe the sensation as uncomfortable, the feeling of being measured by something with a jaw strong enough to sever fingers. But the predator is not interested in the diver. It is interested in what the diver's presence might reveal. Sometimes that curiosity becomes dangerous. The barracuda's vision is oriented toward brightness and contrast, and in the chaos of sunlit waves, a piece of shiny jewelry can appear to the predator as a fleeing fish. Attack records reveal a pattern: silver watches, dangling necklaces, reflective camera housings, all mistaken for prey, all triggering lightning-fast strikes. These incidents are not malicious. They are the byproduct of a hunting machine trained to recognize sudden flashes as life. Its reflex is faster than thought, faster than caution, faster than the diver's awareness that a threat even existed. The barracuda does not plan these accidents. It simply reacts with the same algorithm that guides its every kill. Flash equals movement. Movement equals opportunity. Opportunity equals strike. The psychological impact of the barracuda on reef communities extends far beyond humans. Small fish alter their schooling patterns when a large individual enters a lagoon. Juvenile snappers retreat deeper into branching corals. Needlefish cluster closer to the surface, using air-water refraction to create visual confusion that may buy them an extra second of survival. Even mid-sized predators such as jacks or mackerels adjust their routes, avoiding areas where a dominant barracuda has set up residence. This territorial behavior is not enforced by direct conflict. The barracuda simply establishes a presence, a slow, silent hover that conveys authority as effectively as any chase. A single large barracuda, often called a gun barrel by local fishermen due to its shape and attitude, can dominate an entire section of lagoon. It positions itself along a drop-off or within a sandy corridor where currents push schools of baitfish. When smaller predators such as trevally pursue prey into these zones, the barracuda becomes an opportunist, launching into the chase not with the intention of starting the hunt, but of stealing the kill. This kind of kleptoparasitism is common in marine ecosystems, but few performers are as bold or efficient as the barracuda. It waits until the smaller predator commits energy to the chase, then slashes in at the last second, removing the prey or taking a chunk large enough to leave little behind. Reef predators must constantly negotiate access to energy, and the barracuda's willingness to exploit the labor of others allows it to maintain high caloric intake with minimal expenditure. The lagoon becomes a contested marketplace, and the barracuda a skilled thief navigating its stalls. Groupers, tarpon, and even juvenile blacktip sharks avoid prolonged hunts when a large barracuda is hovering nearby. They know the silver blade will cut through their ambush at the worst possible moment, taking advantage of the turbulence and panic they create. But barracudas are not simply opportunistic, they are also surprisingly calculated in their choices. A study of feeding patterns along tropical reefs revealed that barracudas preferentially attack prey that are isolated or appear confused. Individuals that break formation from schools or wander across open sand. This selectivity reduces wasted effort. The predator is not merely fast, it is efficient, and this efficiency shapes how prey species organize themselves spatially. Even the smallest pompanos alter their schooling geometry in the presence of a barracuda, tightening formation to confuse the predator's depth perception. At dusk, as the sun sinks and the water turns darker, the barracuda's silver camouflage begins to betray rather than protect it. This is the window when other predators begin to dominate. Sharks emerging from deeper channels, groupers leaving caves to hunt along the seabed. The barracuda becomes less active during these hours, relying on moonlight or bioluminescent cues only when needed. Its behavior shifts, transitioning from the boldness of daytime patrolling to a slower, more cautious drift around the reef's periphery. Even a hitman avoids unnecessary risks when the environment turns against his strengths. Despite its fearsome reputation, the barracuda is not a reckless animal. It is governed by precision. Its lateral line system, running along the length of its body, detects minute changes in water pressure, allowing it to sense the direction of moving prey. Its eyesight, adapted for high-contrast detection, excels in bright, clear water. Its metabolic rate is tuned for sudden bursts of lethal acceleration rather than endurance. These biological adaptations come together in an animal that functions less like a brute and more like a carefully tuned projectile. The lagoon, then, is not merely a habitat, it is a firing range. Every structure, coral, sand patch, mangrove shadow, becomes part of the barracuda's calculations. Its life is defined by geometry, distances, angles, lines of sight, and the split-second physics of motion through dense water. When it strikes, the visual effect can resemble a silver blur slicing through the scene before the viewer's mind even registers what has happened. Yet the barracuda also embodies a kind of reef philosophy. Conserve energy, wait for the right moment, strike with precision, and disappear just as quickly. This efficiency makes it one of the most influential mid-level predators of the tropics. Not because it is the strongest, not because it is the largest, but because it is the reef's master of opportunity. A hitman suspended in blue light, capable of exploding forward faster than most prey species can even understand movement. In a world where survival is measured in microseconds and millimeters, the great barracuda thrives by turning patience into weaponry and clarity into camouflage. It is the reef's silver enforcer, the predator that governs the shallows not through overwhelming force, but through the elegance of a perfectly timed, perfectly aimed strike. The continental shelf in winter light looks like a drowned desert. Pale sand stretches in uneven ripples, interrupted only by patches of gravel, scattered shells, and the occasional tangle of seaweed dragged across the bottom by passing storms. The water is dim, tinted with green and brown from plankton drifting in the cold. Down here, everything moves slowly, either because the temperature demands caution, or because the animals that rule this world have learned that speed is the least reliable path to survival. This is not a realm of open chases or flashing silver schools. It is a world ruled by stillness, deception, and the ruthless efficiency of predators that have mastered invisibility. And lying at the center of this quiet tyranny is a creature that hides in plain sight better than almost any marine hunter: the monkfish. At first glance, the monkfish does not look like an animal at all. Buried beneath sand, with only the faint outline of a head visible beneath the shifting grains, it is more reminiscent of a rotting log or a broken slab of seafloor than a living thing. Its body is flattened, wide as a manhole cover, and its mouth stretches across nearly the entire width of its head. Above this grotesque grin lies a lure, a fleshy appendage that rises like a tiny worm from the edge of its snout. This lure moves with subtle pulses, manipulated with delicate muscle control that seems impossible for a creature with such a monstrous silhouette. From a distance, the lure resembles a small invertebrate struggling in the current. Up close, it looks like bait left behind by a fisherman. But in reality, it is a living trap, the monkfish's most dangerous weapon. This grotesque construction, part of a family of adaptations known as Elysium and Esker, is what makes the monkfish something more than a predator. It makes it an architect of deception. While most ocean hunters rely on motion to find prey, the monkfish inverts the equation entirely. It relies on no movement at all, letting the world drift toward its jaws while it remains concealed beneath sand or silt. The seafloor becomes its hunting ground, but also its disguise, and the monkfish rules this territory with the same quiet menace that a mafia boss exerts over a neighborhood. It does not patrol, it does not chase. It simply exists, and in existing, it dictates who lives and who vanishes. A small fish approaches, drawn by the shifting lure. The monkfish stays motionless, relying on the fact that its body temperature has settled into equilibrium with the surrounding water. Even predators equipped with thermal senses would detect nothing unusual. The sand covering its back collects particles of algae, broken shell fragments, and tiny debris stirred up by bottom currents. Over time, these microlayers build into a natural camouflage so perfect that even trained eyes struggle to distinguish monkfish from substrate. This is not an animal hiding. This is an animal that has evolved to become the floor itself. The lure flicks once, subtly. The fish hesitates. The lure dips again, gently, as though attempting to burrow. The fish commits, and in that instant, the world explodes. The monkfish's mouth opens in a violent upward burst, expanding so rapidly that the surrounding water forms a vacuum-like suction. This is not a bite in the way most predators bite. It is a collapse of space. One moment the prey is swimming freely, the next it is engulfed whole, swallowed into darkness before its fins can register the danger. This ambush technique is so fast that high-speed cameras struggle to freeze the moment of impact. The jaws flare outward, the skull plates hinge open, and the monkfish's entire cranial structure transforms into a forward-facing trapdoor that slams shut as rapidly as it opened. By the time sediment settles back over the monkfish's head, the fish is already being forced deeper into the predator's gullet by muscular contractions. Nothing remains. No scales drift upward. No limbs or fins protrude from the mouth. The scene resets back to a placid patch of sand. It is as if the event never happened. But fish are not the only victims taken by this method. Crabs scuttling too close to the lure are vacuumed in with equal ease. Squid, drifting past the monkfish's hiding place, can be seized before their jet propulsion reflexes even activate. There are records of seabirds plummeting too deep during feeding dives. Shearwaters, cormorants, even puffins, vanishing into the monkfish's mouth when they misjudge the predator's reach. These birds do not belong on the seafloor, but the monkfish does not care. It will consume whatever crosses the boundary of its invisible perimeter. The monkfish's reign is based on a principle that defies the usual energy economics of the ocean. Fast predators like tuna burn enormous amounts of energy to pursue prey. Even sharks must swim constantly to keep oxygen flowing through their gills. But the monkfish performs the opposite strategy. Conserve nearly all energy, remain still, and let the food come to you. This strategy only works because the monkfish has mastered near-perfect invisibility. It is not hiding from its enemies. Few predators risk attacking such a large armored head, but hiding from its opportunities. With each successful ambush, The monkfish reinforces its position as the apex ambusher of the benthic world. Yet invisibility alone does not make it the MAFIA boss of the seafloor. What gives the monkfish power is the territorial vacuum it creates. Smaller ambush predators such as scorpionfish or small groupers do not attempt to settle near a mature monkfish. They know that their own feeding chances evaporate in the shadow of this giant. The monkfish dominates the feeding zones by virtue of being unpredictable, greedy, and impossible to detect before it strikes. Any creature that attempts to hunt near it risks becoming prey itself. The seafloor around a large monkfish is quieter than comparable habitats. Fewer small fish linger, fewer crustaceans wander freely, and even predators that could physically overpower the monkfish avoid provoking a competitor capable of devouring their offspring or unexpectedly eliminating their next meal. In this way, the monkfish acts like a silent enforcer. It does not attack indiscriminately. It attacks opportunistically, and its presence suppresses the behavior of other predators, altering the benthic ecosystem structure. Like a MAFIA boss who does not need to shout or brandish a weapon to control a neighborhood, the monkfish does not need to chase or threaten to exert dominance. Its reputation, encoded through millions of years of evolution, shapes the behavior of everything around it. Animals avoid the subtle dead zones within the monkfish's range, not because they recognize the predator visually, but because they sense an absence of motion that feels wrong, too quiet, too still, too watchful. On stormy nights, when waves above churn the water and send plumes of sand drifting across the seafloor, monkfish capitalize on the chaos. Turbulence disorients prey, pushing dislodged organisms across the substrate like debris in a winter wind. The monkfish remains anchored, its broad pectoral fins buried deep enough to prevent displacement. It becomes the one stable piece of landscape in a shifting world, an anchor in the storm, and a perfect trap for anything swept along the seafloor. Storms do not threaten the monkfish, they feed it. Biologists studying monkfish have found that their stomach contents often include animals far larger than expected. Cod, haddock, lobsters, even seabirds with wings still attached. Their stomachs are extremely elastic, capable of expanding to hold prey nearly half their own length. This ability underpins the monkfish's MAFIA control of the benthic environment. No creature is too large, too armored, or too unlikely to become a target. The monkfish takes what it wants, when it wants, and leaves the barest ripple in the sand behind. When the monkfish finally moves, shifting position after hours or even days in one spot, it does so with surprising grace for an animal so visually grotesque. The movement is slow and purposeful, like an old ruler inspecting his domain. It lifts its massive head, pushes off the sand with strong pectoral fins, and drifts along the bottom with gentle undulations of its tail. The body sways slightly, revealing the thick, fleshy folds along its sides and the trailing fins that act like stabilizers. The transition from buried ambusher to drifting hunter is brief. If prey appears mid-swim, the monkfish will strike even without concealment, lunging with the same vacuum speed ambush technique. Then, as quickly as it moved, it settles again. The sand billows upward, then falls gently over its back, completing the disguise anew. Hours might pass before it feeds again. Days might pass before it moves again. But the seafloor remembers. Crustaceans avoid the area. Small fish skirt the edges of its territory. Even the tides seem to slow, as though the landscape itself acknowledges that something dangerous lies below. On land, predators intimidate by being visible. Lions roaring on open plains, wolves running in coordinated packs, bears standing tall. But in the deep temperate oceans, power is often measured by absence. The monkfish does not advertise its dominance. It possesses a different kind of authority. The authority of absolute stillness, perfect deception, and the ability to end a life in less time than it takes for a heartbeat to complete. In a world obsessed with speed and strength, the monkfish is proof that the quietest predator often holds the strongest influence. It commands through ambiguity, rules through invisibility, and sustains itself through the brutal efficiency of a creature that does not need to chase, intimidate, or threaten. It simply waits, hidden, patient, and inevitable. The monkfish is not the fastest killer of the ocean, nor the most iconic. But it is, undeniably, the ambush boss of the seafloor, a creature whose power comes not from motion, but from mastery of stillness, the silent MAFIA lord of the benthic deep. There is a kind of silence that belongs only to estuaries at low tide, a thick, humid quiet broken only by the slap of mangrove roots against slow-moving water and the distant croak of wading birds picking their way through mud-banked channels. The air is dense with salt and decay. The river, swollen with silt and drifting leaves, exhales the smell of inland forests as it mixes with the sea's colder breath. This transitional world, neither fully river nor fully ocean, is where life funnels through choke points dictated by geography, tide, and chance. It is also a place ruled by a predator that understands these bottlenecks better than any other animal alive. The saltwater crocodile, the oldest surviving architect of ambush on Earth, commands the estuary not by patrolling it, but by owning the passages between water bodies the same way an ancient warlord controls mountain passes. In the murky water of a river mouth, visibility collapses to an arm's length. The crocodile thrives here. Its body temperature has settled into the rhythm of the surrounding water, warmed by the sun during high tide and cooled by deeper currents when the tide retreats. Unlike fish, which struggle to regulate their internal heat, or mammals, which must constantly burn calories to stay warm, the crocodile functions as a thermal tactician. It basks on sandbanks when the sun is low, storing warmth within thick muscle layers, then slides back into the water where that heat moves slowly toward its core, allowing the animal to remain alert without expending unnecessary energy. A crocodile that has warmed itself all morning can remain motionless in the water for hours, blending seamlessly into the river's brown opacity. Every estuary has predictable traffic. Fish migrating from sea to river in pulses that follow seasonal rains, turtles searching for brackish feeding grounds, feral pigs crossing mudflats during low tide, dogs, deer, and cattle approaching for a drink at dawn, fishermen lowering nets as their fathers and grandfathers once did. The crocodile knows all these rhythms. It has felt them since birth. The vibrations of hooves on mud, the passage of mullet schools through incoming tides, the change in current speed as fresh water rushes outward during monsoon runoff. Over decades, a dominant crocodile memorizes its estuary with the precision of a cartographer. It chooses its ambush spots with the same care an experienced hunter studies wind direction. One preferred spot lies beneath overhanging branches where shadows flatten the water's surface. Another lies beside a submerged log that splits the current, funneling prey into a narrow strip exactly the width of the crocodile's skull. A third lies along the outer edge of a bend, where deeper water meets a shallow sandbank. In each place, movement must pass through a predictable gap. These are the gates of the estuary, and the crocodile holds them. A turtle paddles down the river during the incoming tide, its shell scraping the edge of a sand ridge. The crocodile hears it long before it sees it. Water transmits vibration with unforgiving clarity, and the crocodile's jaw, packed with sensors called integumentary sense organs, reads these vibrations with near-perfect precision. The estuary's silence is broken not for the turtle's benefit, but for the crocodile's. The predator does not need to see. It needs only to detect an object crossing into its invisible perimeter. Its body rises just enough for nostrils to break the surface, breaths exhaled slowly so bubbles do not betray its position. When the turtle drifts into the choke point, the crocodile lunges. The strike is not dramatic in the way a shark's breach is dramatic. It is low, brutal, and vertical. The crocodile surges upward, jaws snapping shut around the turtle's carapace, with a sound like a log splitting. The turtle is lifted partially out of the water, its limbs thrashing uselessly. Then the crocodile twists, that infamous death roll that cracks bones, disorients prey, and multiplies the force of the bite. The turtle's shell does not fracture immediately, but the crocodile does not grow impatient. It drags its prey beneath the water, forcing it to inhale liquid, suffocating it before returning to the sandbank to finish the kill. Only after the turtle has drowned does the crocodile position it between its jaws again and begin the deliberate process of crushing the shell, one groaning crack at a time. In many river mouths across northern Australia and Southeast Asia, fishermen speak of crocodiles not as random threats, but as predictable forces, like powerful currents or shifting sandbars. They describe crocodiles that return to the same channels every evening, appearing beneath the same leaning mangrove at every outgoing tide, waiting for fish trapped in the narrowing water. They also speak of crocodiles that do not fear boats. These animals learn quickly that nets mean struggling fish, and they tolerate the sound of outboard motors because those sounds are followed by the sound of flapping bodies hauled over gunnels. Real incidents illustrate this with uncomfortable clarity. Along the Daly River, a crocodile once waited beside a moored dinghy, lunging the moment a fisherman leaned over to untangle a snagged net. In Papua New Guinea, a dominant male was documented dragging an entire pig carcass off a sandbar after it fell from a transport canoe. In northern Queensland, a crocodile pulled a wallaby from a fisherman's catch bucket and slipped away without creating so much as a splash, leaving only a ripple to mark the theft. These are not accidents. They are expressions of territory, the crocodile taking what crosses its gate. The tidal nature of these river mouths affords the crocodile even greater control. At high tide, when seawater pushes inland, the crocodile travels upriver with minimal effort, riding the tide like a conveyor belt. At low tide, when the water drains seaward, it parks itself near channels where fish funnel through narrow outlets. Its strategy matches the rhythm of the water. It hunts with precision, not because it is calculating in a human sense, but because millennia of evolution have sculpted its behavior to align perfectly with the mechanics of tidal flow. Even humans who should know better sometimes become part of this dynamic. Locals often cross river mouths during low tide, walking ankle-deep along mudflats to reach shellfish beds or cross from village to village. A crocodile lying still in a waist-deep channel can explode forward with terrifying speed, covering several body lengths before the person even turns their head. Survivors describe the initial impact not as a bite, but as a collision. A heavy slam followed by violent downward force as they were dragged into deeper water. Saltwater crocodiles are not opportunistic scavengers that stumble into human encounters. They are strategic ambushers that exploit predictable movement patterns. The ecological impact of this ambush dominance is profound. By controlling estuary gates, crocodiles dictate how many fish succeed in migrating upriver, how many juvenile mullet escape into the sea, and how many turtles survive seasonal feeding cycles. Their presence affects the distribution of birds, which avoid certain sandbanks even during low tide. Mammals like deer and wild boar alter their drinking routines, seeking inland pools rather than approaching the river's edge. Even apex predators like large sharks respect the crocodile's claim to the freshwater boundary, rarely venturing far into estuaries where visibility is low and ambush potential is high. The crocodile's authority extends beyond individual kills. It reshapes the movement and behavior of entire communities. What sets the crocodile apart from the other predators in your previous chapters is not just patience, though its patience is legendary, but the way it manipulates geography. The monkfish hides in plain sight, but its influence is limited to the seafloor it occupies. The great white controls through vertical speed and territorial routes. The tiger shark patrols with wide-ranging authority. The barracuda rules by sudden hit-and-run violence. But the crocodile rules by owning the portals, the junctions between water bodies that everything must pass through eventually. Its power is architectural rather than explosive. It shapes flow, movement, and routine. It enforces a border not through motion, but through the certainty that it could appear anywhere within a patch of murky water. Chaos above, silence below. But beneath that silence lies an animal that has never surrendered the methods of its prehistoric ancestors, methods perfected long before mammals ever walked upright. As dusk deepens and the river's surface reflects only the faintest outline of mangrove branches, the crocodile returns to one of its favored gates. It positions itself at the mouth of a narrow channel where the tide will soon reverse. Fish, moving between river and sea, will need to pass through this throat of water. It lowers itself until only eyes and nostrils remain above the surface. The day's heat lingers inside its core, slowly radiating outward. The current begins to change direction. The estuary breathes, the crocodile waits, and the gate closes once more. In the subarctic dawn, the ocean looks like a vast sheet of hammered metal. Low clouds stretch across the horizon, and the wind moves in long, quiet breaths. Beneath this grey skin, life is arranged not by chance, but by culture, a word rarely applied to non-human predators until researchers were forced to admit that orcas do not behave like animals, merely responding to instinct. They behave like families, executing inherited strategies, passing down hunting knowledge, the way human clans pass down craft, trade, and territorial codes. This is not a kingdom ruled by a single tyrant. It is an archipelago of crime families, each with its own specialty, its own methods, its own rules, and its own borders. And at the heart of every orca family is a matriarch, the strategist, the historian, the memory bank, and the final authority. To understand orcas is to understand the long game. A matriarch may live for more than 8 decades, far beyond the reproductive years that define most mammals' value in an evolutionary sense. For orcas, survival depends on knowledge, not on fertility. A matriarch who remembers the location of winter herring aggregations, who knows the exact shape of underwater shelves where seals haul out during storms, who has learned the escape routes of sharks and the blind angles of fishing nets, is worth more to her family than any number of newborn calves. Orca clans survive because they inherit a library, not written in ink, but in coordinated movements, rehearsed tactics, and rigid social structure. The family travels slowly across the cold water, dorsal fins rising like a procession of black knives. Calves swim beside their mothers, not sheltered passively, but observing with intense focus. Juveniles position themselves between older siblings and maternal aunts. Adult males flank the group's outer edge, acting not as enforcers, but as loyal lieutenants, responding to the matriarch's cues with unwavering obedience. Every orca in the pod knows its place, and every role serves a larger strategy. Even silence is choreographed. The pod moves with no unnecessary noise, acoustic discipline maintained because the ocean is a world where any misplaced click can betray intent. In the North Pacific, some families specialize in a form of hunting that resembles a coordinated hit on a fortified target. A harbor seal lies on a floating sheet of sea ice, safe from most predators because the ice itself acts as a shield. But to an orca family, the ice is not an obstacle, it is leverage. 4 adult females approach first, swimming in a perfect line, their bodies angling downward to build momentum. At a signal unseen by the human eye, a change in speed, a twitch of a flipper, the shifting of echolocation clicks, they rise together, driving a synchronized wave directly beneath the ice. The sheet tilts, the seal slips. The orcas circle back, calculating. A second hit follows, more powerful. The ice tips again, and the seal, desperately scrambling, loses its grip and is pulled into the water. Immediately, the nearest orca grabs it, not to kill it outright, but to disable it with a single crushing bite. The family then divides the carcass with structured precision. Elders feed first, calves second, adult males last. This hierarchy is not a matter of dominance. It is a matter of preserving the leadership that preserves the family. Across the world in Norwegian waters, a completely different orca culture has evolved. These families are herring herders, oceanic ranchers that have perfected the art of corralling millions of fish into a tight, quivering sphere. The technique is so specialized that calves spend years learning the exact timing of tail slaps, the correct distance to maintain from the ball, and the shape of the formation that keeps the herring compact without scattering them. The family begins by circling beneath the school, releasing streams of bubbles that push the fish upward into shallower water. As the herring tighten to avoid the rising threat, orcas take positions like shepherd dogs, not rushing, not striking, but guiding. When the ball is dense enough, the matriarch signals the attack. A single orca delivers a tail slap so powerful that it sends shockwaves through the entire fish mass, stunning dozens instantly. Others move in to pick off the fallen fish one at a time. There is no frenzy, no chaos, only order. The calves are allowed to practice, learning how to deliver half-power slaps that do not disperse the school. Hunting is not simply feeding. It is training, and every orca family conducts this training in ways unique to their lineage. In southern oceans, another clan has perfected the most brutal of orca tactics: shark liver extractions. Great white sharks, seven-gill sharks, and other apex predators fall victim to these calculated assaults. The method is chillingly elegant. A group of orcas approaches a shark from multiple angles, using coordinated harassment to exhaust it. One orca then delivers a precise blow to the shark's pectoral fin, flipping it into tonic immobility, a paralysis induced when sharks are forcibly turned upside down. Once immobilized, the shark can no longer swim. And because sharks depend on constant movement to oxygenate their gills, suffocation begins immediately. While the shark is still alive, an orca pushes upward beneath it and bites directly between the pectoral fins, extracting the liver with astonishing accuracy. This organ is rich in fats and energy. The rest of the shark, muscle, cartilage, bone, is often left untouched. This surgical extraction is not instinctual, it is taught. Pods that know the technique produce descendants that specialize in shark hunting, while pods without this knowledge may never attempt it. Culture divides families into professionals with distinct specialties. Some hunting seals, some herding fish, some dismantling sharks with surgical precision. These strategies do not overlap. An orca born into a herring herding clan may never kill a seal in its lifetime, even though it is fully capable. The method defines the identity. Perhaps the greatest proof that orcas possess culture is their vocal signatures. Each family has a dialect, a pattern of calls and whistles unintelligible to neighboring clans. These dialects act as badges of identity, and even when pods from different families interact socially, they maintain their linguistic boundaries. The difference between families is so significant that researchers can identify a pod from kilometers away simply by analyzing its acoustic fingerprint. Within the clan, sound becomes both communication and memory, a way of transmitting tradition through generations that listen before they learn. Territory among orca families is not marked by boundaries in the physical sense. It is shaped by resource tradition, the idea that each pod returns to the same hunting areas year after year, season after season, because their strategies are tied to the geography. A pod that uses wave washing on ice-borne seals needs ice flows. A pod that specializes in shark hunting needs reef shelves and kelp forests. A pod that herds herring needs deep fjords and steep underwater walls that guide fish into predictable shapes. Culture and place become inseparable. The family does not simply live in an environment, it engineers it. Within these family units, calves are not passive followers, they are apprentices. A young orca watches its mother teach by example, positioning herself beside the calf during practice hunts, nudging it into proper formation, correcting mistakes with subtle body language. When the calf hesitates, the mother slows. When the calf misjudges the angle of a wave wash attack, the mother repeats the maneuver. The learning curve is long, years long. And the patience required reflects a level of long-term planning rarely seen in other marine predators. In some regions, orcas have even adapted their strategies to exploit human behavior. Fishermen in Alaska and Russia report pods that shadow long-line boats, plucking halibut and black cod from hooks the moment they surface. The orcas time their approach with the sound of winches and engines, knowing precisely when the catch will rise. These thefts are not random, they are performed with discipline. The family waits beneath the stern in perfect formation, taking fish cleanly and efficiently, while ignoring lures, hooks, and human shouts from the deck. They are not stealing blindly. They are executing a learned behavior that spreads through pods, much like techniques spread through human criminal networks. The key to orca dominance is not muscle, although they possess plenty. It is organization. Their hunting is structured, their knowledge inherited, their social rules rigid. The matriarch leads not through physical coercion but through expertise, the same way a criminal syndicate reveres the strategic brilliance of its oldest members. When she dies, the pod does not instantly fall apart, but it loses its map, its living memory, and the younger members must teach themselves through experience what would once have been taught through lineage. In ecological terms, orcas function as regulators, manipulating prey behavior long before the kill even occurs. Seals that live near wave-washing pods choose ice flows that are thicker and harder to tip. Herring respond to tail slap pressure by modifying their schooling patterns, forming denser balls more quickly when orcas call nearby. Shark populations alter migratory behavior when orca clans specializing in liver extraction patrol certain coastlines. The presence of an orca family changes the rules of the ecosystem, forcing other animals to adapt to the strategies of the predators that hunt them. At dusk, when the sea reflects only the faintest glow of the disappearing sun, an orca family travels in deliberate silence. Calves tuck close to their mothers. Adult males glide at the periphery, scanning for obstacles or prey. The matriarch leads with minimal gestures, a subtle roll, a change in depth, a shift in call frequency. The pod follows without question. For them, survival is not measured in speed or strength or chance. It is measured in the continuity of inherited knowledge, a lineage of strategies sharpened across decades and carried forward by minds that are capable of planning, teaching, and remembering in ways few animals on Earth can match. If the sea has mob families, this is the dynasty that sits at the top, silent, organized, intelligent. A predator that does not merely hunt, it plots. The first sign of the tiger shark is rarely a fin or a shadow, but an absence. When the lagoon falls strangely quiet, when the mullet schools that normally churn the shoreline seem to melt into thin water, when the reef stops trembling with the constant traffic of parrotfish and goatfish and jacks, that quietness is a clue. Something heavy is moving in from the blue. The tropical shallows have a way of revealing predators not through their presence, but through the reaction of everything else. And few animals command that kind of silent shift, like the tiger shark. Not the largest shark in the tropics, not the fastest, not even the most notorious, but undeniably the broad-shouldered authority figure that every inhabitant knows by instinct. The tiger shark does not sneak, it arrives, and the ecosystem adjusts accordingly. The water near the surface glows with the gold of morning sun, and that glow runs down the shark's back in long, broken stripes. Those bars fade with age, but never vanish completely, leaving a pattern that looks like sunlight through palm fronds. It is a kind of camouflage tailored to tropical chaos, where brightness and shadow flicker constantly as waves roll over coral heads. From above, the tiger shark's body looks carved from that same restless light. From below, its pale belly blends with the shimmer of the surface. Its entire design is the geometry of ambush, yet tiger sharks do not behave like delicate stalkers. They move with slow confidence, cruising coastlines and river mouths like seasoned officers, walking a beat they have patrolled since birth. Tiger sharks are sometimes called the garbage collectors of the tropics, but that nickname is too small for the ecological weight they carry. They are not just opportunists. They are the final editors of the coastal food web, the ones who decide what remains and what disappears, the cleaners of biological debt and the executors of natural consequences. Their diet is famously indiscriminate. Sea turtles, stingrays, seabirds, eels, squid, dying dolphins, injured reef sharks, rotting fish carcasses, and the discarded leftovers of human activity. But the real story is not that they eat everything. It is why they eat everything, and what that means for the ecosystems under their influence. When a turtle with a cracked shell drifts too slowly along a channel, the tiger shark is the one that ends its suffering and returns those nutrients to circulation before the body ever sinks. When a giant barracuda loses a nighttime battle and weakens near dawn, the tiger shark finishes the chapter. When storms drown seabirds and their bodies float in swollen swells, tiger sharks gather like vultures, cleaning the water column long before decomposition begins. This scavenging ability is not laziness. It is the quiet engine of tropical renewal. What they consume prevents disease, stops rot from spreading, and keeps coastlines from becoming floating graveyards. Following a tiger shark through the labyrinth of a reef is to see the tropics from the perspective of a judge. It glides along the outer wall, drops down over the ledge where the reef slopes into deeper blue, sweeps slowly along the sandy channel where stingrays bury themselves at mid-morning. Its head is broad, its eyes wide set to increase the field of view, its nostrils flared to read faint chemical signals drifting with the currents. The tiger shark does not look for specific prey. It collects information. It identifies weakness, imbalance, and opportunity. When it finds a turtle resting too long on the bottom, or a sickly grouper that cannot maintain its camouflage, it acts. But the tiger shark's kingdom is not limited to pristine reefs. It is one of the few apex predators that regularly moves back and forth between human-dense waters and untouched wilderness. Harbors, sewage outfalls, fish markets, abandoned docks, beachside trash sites. The tiger shark patrols them as confidently as it patrols a coral canyon. At dusk, when fishing boats return to port dragging the scent of offcuts and bycatch, tiger sharks fall into step beneath them. They do not beg for food. They claim the territory, orbiting in slow motion, as if inspecting what their smaller competitors have left behind. Along river mouths, where fresh water pulses into the sea like blood from an artery, tiger sharks wait for currents to carry debris, drowned animals, or migratory fish weakened from long journeys. They do not enter the rivers themselves like bull sharks, but they understand that estuaries are the tropics' conveyor belts of opportunity. They time their approach with tides, learning when the water will deliver rewards. The precision is almost ritualistic. Studies tracking individuals have shown the same sharks visiting the same harbor edges and the same fishing channels at consistent hours, like commuters following a strict timetable. In remote archipelagos, tiger sharks perform a very different role. They are the stabilizers of prey populations that would otherwise collapse under their own abundance. Sea turtles, for example, experience something close to immunity from most predators once they reach adult size. Their shells, strengthened by dense bone and thick keratin layers, are among nature's toughest armors. But tiger sharks have the jaw strength and tooth design to break through that armor, reducing what could be a runaway population into a balanced one. They shape where turtles graze, forcing them away from certain seagrass beds and preventing overconsumption. When the sharks disappear, the meadows decline, the fish that depend on those meadows scatter, and the entire landscape changes. Tiger sharks are equally important for controlling ray populations. Stingrays multiply quickly when predator pressure drops, and their feeding behavior, digging vigorously through sediment for crustaceans, can strip seagrass ecosystems bare. A healthy tiger shark presence keeps rays in motion, preventing them from clustering in destructive densities. In this way, the tiger shark indirectly protects nurseries for juvenile fish, stabilizes sandbars, and maintains the clarity of shallow water that many coastal communities depend on. If the tiger shark were simply a fearsome hunter, this influence might be less complex. But the tiger shark is a scavenger-predator hybrid, and this duality is what gives it such power. Scavengers respond quickly to death, keeping the environment clean. Predators enforce order on the living, eliminating the weak and preventing imbalance. The tiger shark occupies both roles simultaneously, sliding between them with the ease of a creature shaped by millions of years of selective pressure in a world where resources are abundant, but competition is fierce. There is also the shark's remarkable sensory suite. Its electroreception is so sensitive, it can detect the faint heartbeats of buried stingrays. Its lateral line reads vibrations from passing schools as if interpreting musical notes. Its sense of smell identifies a drop of blood diluted in water broader than a canyon, but the secret weapon is its taste-reading system. Tiger sharks often take test bites, releasing a potential meal if the chemical signature signals low nutritional value or excessive decay. They are not fools. They optimize every feeding decision, balancing energy gain against the risk of injury or wasted effort. Even their reproductive strategy reflects their role as slow but unstoppable coastal enforcers. Tiger sharks give birth to large litters of strong, well-developed pups. These young sharks are not helpless. From the moment they swim away from their mother, they behave like miniature versions of the adult, hunting crustaceans, scavenging floating debris, even picking off small birds or weakened fish. They grow slowly but steadily, rising through the food chain until they take their place patrolling the coastal routes like veterans who know every current and every shortcut. Yet the tiger shark's reputation among humans is wildly distorted. It is often lumped with great whites as a danger to swimmers, but its relationship with people is more nuanced. Coastal regions where fish markets discard waste into the water create artificial feeding points that attract these sharks. Boat captains unintentionally train them to approach hulls at specific hours. Fishermen cleaning catches on the beach create scent plumes that drift into the surf zone. These human-generated cues confuse the shark's decision-making, blurring the line between natural prey and unnatural stimuli. When accidents occur, they are less the result of aggression and more the consequence of a predator whose environment no longer follows the rules it evolved to read. Still, even with this complexity, tiger sharks remain essential to tropical stability. Removing them unleashes chaos. Rays explode in number, turtles overgraze seagrass, sick fish linger long enough to spread disease, and carcasses accumulate along shorelines, feeding bacterial blooms that suffocate reefs. A world without tiger sharks is not safer. It is dirtier, less balanced, and less capable of recovering from natural disturbance. As the sun passes overhead and the reef shifts into its afternoon rhythm, the tiger shark continues its patrol, unhurried by the frantic pace of smaller animals. Its role is not to chase every opportunity, but to maintain presence. Ecosystems behave differently when this predator is around. Herbivores graze more cautiously, rays travel more widely, turtles adjust resting patterns. Even the scavengers, crabs, eels, smaller sharks, wait for the tiger shark to finish inspecting a carcass before they approach. Authority in the tropics is not enforced with speed or loudness, it is enforced with consistency. The tiger shark glides toward the open blue again, stripes dissolving into the brightness. Behind it, the reef slowly resumes its noise. Fish return to feeding, rays settle back into sand. The silence lifts. But the order it imposed lingers. In the sprawling, sunlit chaos of tropical seas, the tiger shark remains the quiet enforcer, cleaning the water, disciplining the shoreline, and making sure that balance, not abundance, is what rules the tropics. Dawn along a cold water coastline is a study in contrasts. The sky glows with soft bands of pink and gold, but the sea below it looks heavy, metallic, and almost unwilling to reflect anything warm. Kelp forests sway beneath the surface like dark curtains caught in a slow wind, their fronds dragging shadows across the shallows where gulls circle and bark echoes from distant rocks. To a casual observer, it feels peaceful, even gentle. But beneath that fragile calm lies an arena shaped by an apex predator that has mastered not only the horizontal landscape of the ocean, but the vertical dimension as well. The great white shark does not hunt on a flat stage. It hunts in three-dimensional space, striking from below with a precision that makes the entire water column part of its arsenal. In these dawn hours, when seals slide off their rookeries for the first feeding swim of the day, the great white positions itself like a loaded spring waiting for movement above. Cold water wraps around the shark's body, but unlike most fish, the great white is not ruled by the surrounding temperature. Inside its muscle system, a lattice of heat exchange vessels called the rete mirabile traps the warmth generated by continuous swimming. This internal engineering allows the shark to hold its muscles several degrees warmer than the surrounding sea, giving it bursts of speed that defy the sluggishness typical of cold water predators. It is a creature optimized for explosive acceleration, and the surface-bound silhouettes of seals drifting overhead are exactly the kind of targets that force that system into full use. From the shark's low vantage point, the world above is viewed through the pale haze of the surface, where every flipper kick sends distortions downward like ripples across frosted glass. The great white does not need perfect clarity, it needs only contrast, dark form against shimmering brightness. As a seal glides through the shallows, completely unaware of what moves beneath, the shark begins its ascent. It does not swim straight up immediately. Instead it drifts, using gentle tail sweeps to adjust position, reading the water as if studying a map. Great whites have been observed tracking individual animals for long stretches, waiting for a lapse in vigilance or a change in course that brings the target into an ideal strike corridor. The elevation change matters as much as distance. The shark is sculpting an angle, too shallow, and the seal escapes sideways, too steep, and the shark risks breaching with wasted momentum. When the geometry aligns, the moment of the strike becomes a choreography of physics, physiology, and timing. The first sign for the seal is usually no sign at all. The attack erupts from below with a force that sends a mass several meters long, hurtling upward faster than most prey animals can comprehend. the shark's jaws open wide, revealing a double-rowed battery of serrated teeth engineered not for piercing but for cutting, allowing it to shear through blubber and muscle in a single motion. The impact can launch both animals clear out of the water in a violent breach, a spectacle that looks almost theatrical, but is entirely functional. The energy delivered in that vertical surge is often enough to incapacitate or kill outright. If not, the shark rarely pursues with reckless speed. It allows the wound to drain the seal's strength before making a controlled second pass. This method, strike, evaluate, finish, prevents injury and conserves energy, reflecting an evolutionary refinement that balances power with calculation. Modern satellite tagging has revealed that these ambush zones are not random patches of coastline. Individual great whites establish preferred hunting grounds and return to them year after year with remarkable fidelity. Each shark appears to hold a mental blueprint of certain coves, drop-offs, kelp edges, and rocky channels where seal behavior funnels prey into predictable routes. These sites are effectively underwater choke points, and the great white functions as the executioner stationed at the end of them. When large individuals arrive at these territories, smaller sharks often vacate, displaced not by physical confrontation, but by the silent hierarchy enforced through size and dominance. Researchers studying aggregation sites have documented these shifts repeatedly. A mature great white, heavy with thick shoulders and powerful pectoral fins, alters the entire predator landscape simply through presence. This territoriality does not resemble the fixed boundaries of land predators, though. It is fluid, tied to migration patterns that stretch across entire ocean basins. The sharks spend seasons near productive rookeries where seals give birth and train their young, then vanish into pelagic corridors scientists have come to call white shark highways. These routes stretch from continental shelves into deep offshore waters, where great whites undertake long migrations spanning thousands of kilometers. One famous satellite-tagged individual traveled from the coast of South Africa to the mid-ocean ridge between Africa and Australia, then returned months later to nearly the exact patch of coastline where it was originally tagged. Another shark from the northeastern Pacific completed a vast triangular circuit between California, the waters off Baja California, and a deep ocean region nicknamed the White Shark Cafe. These migrations challenge the old assumption that great whites are primarily coastal predators. Instead, they are wide-ranging navigators, returning to hunting grounds with the regularity of seasoned travelers following ancestral routes. Their presence shapes not just the immediate kill zones, but the daily living patterns of seal colonies. Along coastlines where great whites regularly patrol, seals alter departure paths, timing, and group size. Newly weaned juveniles, inexperienced in reading the water for danger, cling to the edges of kelp forests before venturing into open channels. Adults swim in tighter groups at dawn and dusk when visibility is lowest. Some colonies even shift haul-out locations over time, abandoning beaches that expose them to deep water approaches. Studies using aerial drones show that seals pause and scan the water surface repeatedly when great whites are known to be nearby, performing behaviors that almost seem ritualistic, but are actually life-saving routines refined through generations of predation pressure. The shark's hunting method is a direct expression of its sensory strengths. Its vision is adapted to low-light contrast detection, making it exceptionally skilled at identifying silhouettes from below. Electroreceptors along its snout detect electrical impulses produced by muscle contractions, allowing it to pinpoint the position of prey even when visibility is poor. Its sense of smell, often exaggerated in popular imagination, is indeed powerful, but functions best as a long-distance alert system rather than a precise hunting instrument. What elevates the shark's predatory accuracy is the integration of these senses into a single decision-making process. The rising strike is not just a burst of speed, but the culmination of layered information: shape, movement, electrical rhythm, and water displacement. Beyond the violence of the kill, the great white's ecological role is surprisingly stabilizing. By targeting seals and sea lions, it maintains the balance of species that would otherwise overexploit fish stocks and disrupt the natural equilibrium between kelp forests and grazing animals. Along some coastlines, the decline of large sharks has led to increases in mesopredators, smaller sharks and mid-level carnivores that feed more intensely on invertebrates and fish. This imbalance cascades downward, altering entire ecosystems. The great white's dominance, especially when it displaces smaller sharks, prevents such collapses. In regions where great whites flourish, the ecosystem tends to display greater resilience, with seal populations regulated and trophic interactions kept in check. At the same time, great whites demonstrate a level of caution and restraint that contradicts their reputation. They are not reckless killers. They avoid unnecessary conflict, conserve energy meticulously, and rely heavily on the advantages of the vertical attack rather than prolonged chases. Each strike is a calculated investment. Even their massive size is a form of strategic adaptation, enabling them to sink into deep, cold layers without sacrificing muscle efficiency, then surge upward with the stored thermal energy that their rita mirabile preserves. This thermoregulatory advantage effectively turns the ocean's vertical gradient into a hunting tool. A seal at the surface may feel safe beneath warm sunlight, but below it, in deeper, cooler layers, a predator is preparing its ascent with muscles primed far hotter than the surrounding sea. The coastline itself becomes a theater shaped by the presence of these sharks. Kelp forests act as both refuge and obstacle. Underwater cliffs create ideal backdrops for ambush. Sandy channels funnel prey into narrow corridors. Seals must navigate this terrain with the constant knowledge that the danger is not ahead or behind, but below. This vertical fear shapes breeding success, foraging efficiency, and even cultural transmission among seal populations, as younger animals learn from the cautious routines of their elders. Predator and prey become locked in a dance defined by space, timing, and three-dimensional geometry. When a mature great white glides through a familiar hunting ground, it moves with the assurance of a creature that has mastered both landscape and physics. Its dorsal fin cuts through the water just enough to announce dominance, but not enough to disrupt its path. Its eyes sweep the surface, reading the pattern of waves for disturbances that betray movement. The shark is not hunting with hunger alone. It is maintaining a long-established claim, asserting its presence in a corridor that belongs to it as much as any terrestrial predator owns a stretch of savanna or forest. And when it finally chooses to rise, when the blur of underwater shapes lines up with an opportunity that satisfies all the sensory criteria, the strike erupts with such precision that it defines the great white not just as a predator, but as the coastline's executioner. It is the enforcer of ecological order along the cold water boundary between land and sea, a creature whose migrations shape entire marine regions and whose presence forces prey communities to evolve vigilance as a lifestyle. In a world of shifting currents and dynamic coastlines, the great white endures as a sentinel of the deep, patrolling ancient hunting grounds with a mastery honed across millions of years. In the shimmering expanse of a tropical reef, where water glows turquoise in the shallows and deepens into cobalt along the drop-offs, every creature seems to glide with elegant precision. Butterfly fish weaving through branching corals, surgeonfish grazing algae in tight rotating schools, and parrotfish biting coral with rhythmic clicks that echo like underwater metronomes. But the reef's harmony is more fragile than it appears. Beneath the beauty lies a constant struggle between animals that build coral, animals that shelter in coral, and animals that destroy coral, not out of malice, but out of evolutionary necessity. And no single creature blends power, destruction, and critical ecosystem influence more dramatically than the Napoleon wrasse. This enormous fish, sometimes longer than a grown human, moves with a strange combination of gentleness and overwhelming presence. Its thick body is painted in hues of emerald, cobalt, and jade, with patterns that resemble hand-drawn mosaics along the face and flanks. Its forehead rises into a distinctive hump, giving it a prehistoric silhouette. But once the Napoleon fish approaches the reef's structure, this gentle giant becomes something else entirely. The coral architecture that shelters countless small animals becomes for the wrasse a supply chest waiting to be cracked open. A colony of giant clams rests among the coral heads, their iridescent mantles shimmering in the sunlit shallows. These clams are armored fortresses, their shells thick, their muscles powerful, their valves capable of slamming shut with crushing force. They survive by filtering water and capturing sunlight-induced energy through symbiotic algae. Only the strongest jaws in the reef can hope to breach them. And those jaws belong to the Napoleon wrasse. The fish approaches slowly, examining the clam with tiny, intelligent movements of the eyes. It inhales slightly, adjusting its position. Then, with a sudden lunge, its massive lips and crushing pharyngeal plates clamp onto the shell. The jaws do not slice, they pulverize. A loud crack rolls through the water, a sound so forceful that nearby fish scatter instinctively. The wrasse clamps again, twisting its head. A second crack, a third. Finally, the shell yields, fracturing along a stress line. The giant wrasse pries it open, swallowing the nutritious flesh inside with measured gulps. This is the demolition expert of the reef, a fish strong enough to destroy the hard defenses that protect some of the reef's most fortified species. But the wrasse's role extends far beyond brute strength. Its true importance lies in the species it chooses to hunt and the ecological consequences of those choices. Not far from the broken clamshell, an entirely different creature makes its slow, spiny approach. The crown of thorns starfish. Its body is wide and armored with venomous spines, each coated with potent toxins capable of causing excruciating pain to any predator foolish enough to attempt a bite. Its stomach extrudes outward when feeding, smothering coral polyps and digesting living tissue until only bleached skeletons remain. In small numbers, crown of thorns starfish are part of the natural cycle of reef turnover. But during population booms, driven by nutrient runoff, loss of predators, and warming seas, they become ecological disasters, consuming acres of live coral in a matter of weeks. Most predators fear these starfish. Their spines deter reef fish, their toxins repel octopuses, and their dense bodies resist the bites of even formidable hunters. But the Napoleon wrasse is different. It circles the starfish with confident curiosity, studying its movement. The wrasse does not simply bite. It attacks strategically, gripping the starfish from below or along the edges where the spines are less dense. With crushing force, it flips the starfish, exposing the softer underside. Then, jaws descend. The starfish writhes, spines splaying outward, releasing venom into the water, a last-ditch chemical warning, but the wrasse continues, dismantling its prey piece by piece. It is one of the few creatures capable of consuming adult crown of thorns starfish without fatal consequences. Where most predators avoid the starfish, the wrasse turns it into food. This ability makes the Napoleon fish one of the most important regulators of coral health. In reefs where wrasse populations remain stable, outbreaks of crown of thorns starfish occur less frequently and rarely reach catastrophic scale. In contrast, reefs where large wrasse have been overfished often suffer devastating starfish plagues that strip away coral cover, leaving behind fields of bare skeletons. The demolition expert, paradoxically, acts as a defender, breaking down the organisms that would otherwise break the reef itself. But the wrasse's influence does not stop with starfish and clams. Its feeding habits ripple outward, shaping which species thrive and which retreat. In the dim cracks between coral heads, a large crab attempts to hide. Its shell is thick, its claws formidable. But the wrasse has already smelled it. Scent molecules drifting through the water column, detected by olfactory pits more sensitive than many predators. It hovers, tilts, and sucks the crab into its jaws with a sudden burst of vacuum power. What follows is predictable. Crushing force, broken shell, and a meal that few other reef fish could access. By preying on armored species, the wrasse prevents crustacean populations from growing unchecked, maintaining balance among grazers and scavengers. And because everything the wrasse consumes either lives inside or feeds upon coral, the wrasse indirectly influences coral survival. Every crab caught, every clam cracked, every starfish crushed shifts the competitive pressures on the reef. In some areas, the presence of a single large wrasse can determine whether slow-growing coral species survive at all, simply by reducing the abundance of organisms that prey on or smother those corals. The demolition expert decides, unknowingly, which corals will flourish. Despite its immense power, the wrasse is a surprisingly cautious traveler. It moves slowly through the reef, inspecting cracks, overturning rubble with its snout, and approaching each feeding opportunity with deliberate curiosity. Its intelligence becomes apparent in the way it manipulates objects, picking up sea cucumbers and flipping them, nudging urchins aside, even testing certain prey items before committing to a strike. For a fish that can crack stone-like shells, it shows remarkable finesse. The wrasse also participates in complex community interactions. Cleaner wrasses gather around it, picking parasites from its skin, gills, and mouth. The giant remains still during these cleanings, hovering motionlessly over the sandy bottom as tiny fish dance across its body. Without cleanings, parasites would hamper its ability to hunt. Without the wrasse, the cleaners would lose one of their most valuable clients. Symbiosis weaves the reef together, and even the demolition expert plays its part. Occasionally, the wrasse crosses paths with a collaborating predator pair, a grouper and a moray eel engaged in their coordinated flushing hunt. The wrasse does not join the operation directly. It is too bulky for tight crack raids, but it benefits from the chaos. Small fish fleeing the eel sometimes escape into open water right beside the wrasse. In those moments, the demolition expert abandons subtlety and engulfs the fleeing prey in a single gulp. Even groupers know better than to challenge a wrasse for such incidental spoils. But there is one interaction that reveals the wrasse's deeper ecological value: its relationship with the reef itself. In some regions, as wrasse populations decline due to overfishing, sought not only for food, but for illegal trade in certain markets, crown of thorns outbreaks have surged. Coral cover diminishes, fish communities shift, and the reef becomes more vulnerable to storms and bleaching. Scientists have traced these collapses not to environmental changes alone, but to the removal of large wrasse whose feeding habits once held the starfish population in check. This means the wrasse is not merely a predator, nor simply a demolisher of shells and spines. It is a stabilizer, a keystone player whose presence determines how resilient the reef will be across decades or even centuries. As the afternoon sun slants lower, casting long beams of light through the reef, the Napoleon fish drifts along a ridge of coral rubble. Its shadow moves across branching corals like a passing cloud. Below, schools of fish adjust their course slightly, but without panic. This is not a reckless hunter that charges wildly. It is a force of intention, visiting each corner of the reef like a surveyor inspecting property lines, checking where defenses are strong and where invaders might be lurking. The demolition expert ends its patrol by returning to a sheltered overhang where sponges and soft corals sway gently in the current. It rests there, massive and serene, its gills pulsing quietly. The reef around it continues its motion. Tiny fish flashing in the open, crabs crawling across rock, polyps extending under fading light. But everyone on this reef knows. When the wrasse rises again, something large and armored will soon be broken open. Something dangerous will be neutralized. Something hidden will be exposed. Something fragile will be saved. Because destruction in the hands of an ancient predator becomes protection. And the Napoleon fish, the coral reef wrecking specialist, remains one of the only creatures capable of keeping that balance intact. The ocean at dawn feels like another planet. The surface shimmers with pale silver light, soft swells lifting and falling in slow breaths, and the first rays of the sun pour downward into the blue as if the sea is swallowing the morning whole. In this early glow, countless small fish awaken, rising from nighttime shelters in branching corals, seagrass beds, and rock crevices to begin their daily rituals. Plankton rise too, drifting upward through columns of warming water in faint, shimmering clouds. And moving through this awakening world, casting a sweeping shadow that glides across everything below, comes one of the most distinctive silhouettes in the ocean. A manta ray, wings outstretched, gliding with a presence so serene that nothing else in the water matches its confidence. A full-grown manta ray is enormous. Its wingspan can stretch wider than a small car, yet its movement is the opposite of forceful. Each wing beat is slow and deliberate, a wide arc that feels as though the manta is moving not through water, but through a thinner, lighter element, unlike sharks, which slice, unlike dolphins, which dart, unlike tuna, which sprint. The manta ray floats, controlling its path with the slightest tilt of the cephalic fins. Those curled, horn-like projections near its mouth that unfurl when feeding. These fins act like steering guides, channeling water and plankton into the manta's cavernous mouth. It is a giant, but it behaves like the ocean's most peaceful ruler. And yet, despite this serenity, every creature in its path responds with deference. Small fish part like curtains as the manta approaches. Schools shift shape to avoid crossing directly in front of its mouth. Even predators, jacks, reef sharks, barracuda, subtly alter their course when a manta drifts near, not out of fear but out of a kind of respect for a giant that almost never engages in confrontation, but must never be inadvertently crossed. The manta ray embodies a different category of dominance, not violent rule, not territorial enforcement, but an untouchable presence that shapes the flow of coral reef life simply by existing. Its journey this morning leads to one of the most remarkable locations in the marine world, a cleaning station. Cleaning stations form where fish gather to remove parasites and dead skin from larger animals. These stations are almost always elevated structures, coral bommies, rocky pillars, or seamount ridges where currents rise. Here, cleaner wrasses, butterfly fish, damselfish, and juvenile parrotfish hover in anticipation, waiting for clients. And the manta ray is one of the station's most valued guests. As the manta glides in, the cleaning station's residents become electrified. Their behavior changes instantly. Cleaner wrasses dart upward, lining themselves into formation. A juvenile tang hovers beneath an overhang, its eyes wide with alertness. Even small herbivorous fish pause their grazing to observe the arrival. The manta slows, then circles. A gentle, looping descent, signaling that it is ready to be serviced. The cleaning begins. Small fish rise toward the manta's belly, weaving between its gill slits, along its trailing edges, across its broad wings. They pluck parasites, nibble away dead tissue, and clean delicate areas near the cephalic fins. Larger cleaners attend the top of the manta's back, darting in and out of tiny grooves in the ray's skin. The manta holds still. For such a large animal to pause so completely in open water demands tremendous control. Its wings cease beating, held slightly angled to maintain lift. The current passes below and above in smooth streams. Its gill plates pulse slowly, opening and closing like the doors of a grand chamber. This moment, a giant hovering while tiny fish work across its surface, reveals the manta's quiet authority. It does not dominate by aggression, but by embodiment. A peaceful giant whose presence guarantees order in the bustling microcosm beneath it. But behind this elegance lies a deeper story. The manta ray is not simple. Its behavior is shaped by a brain larger than that of almost any other fish species on Earth. In fact, relative to body size, manta rays possess one of the largest brains of any marine animal, an organ rich in folds, complexity, and neural density. This suggests advanced sensory processing, memory, learning ability, and perhaps even social awareness far beyond what most fish demonstrate, and the evidence is everywhere. Mantas form social networks built on repeated associations, returning to the same individuals again and again during feeding seasons and migrations. They engage in synchronized feeding spirals, coordinating their positions to form circular feeding chains. They revisit the same cleaning stations year after year, sometimes showing preferences for specific cleaner fish populations. They exhibit curiosity, approaching divers, examining new objects, lingering near boats not out of fear but out of apparent interest. Juveniles learn from older mantas, following them along migratory paths that stretch hundreds of kilometers across oceans. Their migration highways follow currents, plankton blooms, and seasonal upwellings that bring nutrient-rich water to the surface. These routes allow mantas to access enormous volumes of food in highly productive waters, then return to cleaning stations to maintain health. They are not drifters, they are navigators. As the manta finishes its cleaning session and glides away from the station, its wing beats resume their rhythm, slow, powerful strokes that carry it through the reef's outer corridor. Beneath it, the reef becomes more dynamic. Schools react to its exit, predators resume their patrols. The temporary equilibrium created by the manta's presence dissolves back into the usual tension of the reef. But even now, its influence lingers. A manta ray's movement creates subtle pressure shifts that small fish detect. Its shadow alerts reef residents to open water conditions. Its presence near feeding grounds signals stable food availability. Even plankton dynamics change. For mantas feed so heavily that their sweeping consumption may reduce plankton density in localized patches, influencing the feeding behavior of smaller planktivores. In one sense, mantas leave no footprint. They do not bite coral, uproot algae, crack shells, or flush prey from holes. But in another sense, they redefine the reef simply because everything reacts to them. And still, the manta remains gentle, not because it is incapable of aggression, but because its body evolved for a niche where confrontation is unnecessary. Its great size deters predators by default. Only the largest sharks, such as tigers or great whites, pose a threat. And even then, attacks on mantas are rare. The manta's wide turning radius and powerful strokes make it surprisingly difficult for a shark to corner. Injured mantas sometimes bear shark bite scars along their wings, but they heal, return, and continue their migrations with the same deliberate confidence. Late in the afternoon, the manta reaches deeper water beyond the reef wall. Light dims, the blue deepens, plankton rises in shimmering drifts. Other mantas appear. First one, then another, then a half-dozen more. They gather not in chaos, but in unspoken choreography. Their cephalic fins unfurl, their wings beat in unison. A feeding cyclone forms. A spiraling tower of mantas, each following the one ahead of it in a slow rotation. Plankton concentrates in the column created by the vortex, and the mantas feed efficiently, each passing through the densest part of the cloud. This behavior requires trust, spatial awareness, and a tolerance for proximity unmatched by most large marine predators. No collisions occur, no competition interrupts the spiral. Each manta respects the rhythm, and in this fluid dance, the ocean's untouchable giants display a mastery of social feeding that rivals anything seen in dolphins or whales, albeit slower and more serene. As dusk settles, the spiral breaks. Individuals peel away, gliding into the darkening blue. The reef below shifts into nighttime mode, with predators rising and herbivores retreating. But the manta remains unbothered by this transition. Its size, its intelligence, and its effortless movement through the water grant it a kind of immunity from the turbulence of reef life. Few creatures in the ocean maintain dominance without force. Fewer still command space through serenity. But the manta ray does exactly this. An unassailable presence, drifting through coral cities like an ancient monarch whose authority is unquestioned, untouchable, unrushed, unchallenged, a giant whose greatest power is simply being there. In the fractured architecture of a tropical reef, power does not always belong to the animals that swim fastest, strike hardest, or patrol the widest distances. Often, it belongs to the creature that controls the real estate, the one that owns the cracks, caverns, and fissures that form the backbone of reef life. When sunlight filters through coral towers and creates pyramids of shifting gold on the seafloor, when parrotfish scrape algae from stone and clouds of anthias pulse around branching corals, there is always another world just centimeters away, the world inside the reef. And within that world, hidden behind narrow openings that vanish into darkness, lives one of the most feared and respected predators of tropical waters. The moray eel is not a visitor to these spaces. It is the landlord. A moray eel's home is not just a hole. It is a fortress carved over years of patient occupation. The eel chooses a crevice with multiple exits, one for retreat, one for ambush, and often a third that allows it to slip unseen into new terrain. Its body, long and muscular, and patterned like a tapestry woven from green, brown, or electric blue, wraps itself into knots within the narrow chambers. Only a head remains visible, a wedge-shaped skull, a mouth that never seems to close, and eyes that study the reef with predatory patience. To fish passing nearby, the sight of that open mouth is a warning, but also a deception. The eel is not baring its teeth in threat, it is breathing. Morays pump water through their gills by opening and closing their jaws, creating the illusion of aggression even in perfect stillness. Yet aggression is always close at hand. A juvenile wrasser wanders too close to the crack. It sees only the darkness. In that darkness, the moray waits. The eel senses the faint electrical signals produced by the fish's muscles, the invisible hum of life echoing through the tight corridor. Morays rely on this electrosensory acuity and an acute sense of smell to understand their environment. In the gloom of their chosen homes, vision is secondary. They hunt by presence, by vibration, by tiny pulses that map the world, even when light fails. When the wrasser enters the boundary of danger, the eel strikes in a burst of motion that appears impossible from a creature wedged tightly in stone. The jaws snap shut with violent precision, but the true horror is what happens next. The moray eel possesses a weapon almost no other vertebrate on Earth carries, a second set of jaws hidden deep in its throat. The pharyngeal jaws, armed with hooked teeth, shoot forward to seize the prey and drag it deeper into the eel's throat. Unlike most predators that pull prey toward the mouth, the moray pulls prey inward, backward, eliminating any chance of escape. It is a predation system so unusual that early anatomists believed it was a myth. Only high-speed imaging revealed the truth. The moray's skull extends beyond the visible jaws, forming a two-stage feeding mechanism more reminiscent of science fiction than marine biology. A wrasser caught in this system has no choice. The outer jaws immobilize, the inner jaws claim. On a reef, every hole matters. Holes are safety, supply routes, nurseries, defensive structures, and daylight refuges for countless species. Most fish use holes temporarily. Morays live in them. They do not simply occupy cracks, they dominate them. Other animals avoid these entrances because they understand that the landlord rarely tolerates intruders. Crabs, octopuses, juvenile groupers, and shrimp learn the boundaries of these territories through fear and experience. The moray's home becomes a no-go zone for creatures that could otherwise share the crevice. Even predators such as barracuda and jacks hesitate to nose too close to a moray's den. They understand that in the tight geometry of a reef hole, agility and speed mean nothing. The moray owns the terrain, but the moray's reign is not confined to its home. At dusk, when light softens and the reef dims into muted blues and violets, the eel emerges from its den. It moves like a ribbon of shadow, undulating across the coral architecture with slow, serpentine grace. Its movement is not frantic or panicked. It is purposeful, a survey of the neighborhood that ensures no rival has dared establish itself too close. The moray's sense of smell leads it down corridors of water that have flowed through dozens of tiny caverns. These scent trails map the presence of prey. Sleeping goatfish buried in sand, crustaceans wedged beneath coral slabs, octopuses testing the edges of territory. The eel glides silently toward the scent it chooses, body sliding along the reef like a river of muscle. Morays are not powerful by speed alone. Their bodies are strong enough to anchor themselves deep in rock while twisting violently to tear apart prey. A grouper may eat large fish by suction feeding. A moray does not bother with suction. It takes hold and then thrashes, using leverage from the reef itself to break prey into manageable sizes. Nothing about this process is elegant. It is raw, forceful, efficient, a form of violence shaped by tight quarters and limited visibility. But the moray is more than a lone enforcer. It is also a collaborator. And in one of the most remarkable examples of interspecies cooperation on Earth, it forms alliances with groupers, large reef predators with very different abilities. A grouper approaches the moray's den, hovering close, fins flicking in agitation. It signals with rapid head movements, a gesture that resembles impatience but is, in fact, communication. The moray responds, slipping from its crevice. Together, the two predators begin a coordinated hunt. The grouper's strength lies in open water pursuit. It is powerful, but lacks the ability to access cracks where prey hide. The moray's strength lies in confinement. It can enter the narrow spaces where fish take refuge. The partnership is simple. The grouper drives fish toward the reef, and the moray flushes them out. Both benefit. In this alliance, the moray is not subordinate. It dictates the pace. When the eel enters a crevice, the grouper waits expectantly, knowing that anything fleeing the moray will bolt into open water, straight into its jaws. Prey that remain inside are dragged out by the moray's dual-jawed ambush. Studies have shown that groupers will actively seek out specific morays, choosing experienced individuals with a history of productive cooperation. Some groupers have even been observed visiting moray dens repeatedly, attempting to recruit the eel for hunting sessions. The moray's participation is not guaranteed. If the grouper violates feeding order or becomes too aggressive, the eel retreats to its home and ends the partnership. The landlord decides whether the guest is welcome. This mutualistic hunting reveals a deeper truth about the moray's intelligence and situational awareness. It understands spatial geometry not just as territory, but as opportunity. It knows how to flush prey into exactly the path the grouper needs. It knows when to retreat and when to commit. And just as the grouper learns the advantages of this alliance, other reef creatures learn the terror of it. No hole is safe when both predators are involved. When a moray eel ages, its scars accumulate. Deep gouges from territorial battles, pale marks from encounters with sharks, and healed punctures from defending its den. These scars tell the story of a life spent in the narrow places of the reef, where the slightest misstep results in a bite, a strike, or a sudden eviction. But despite these risks, morays rarely surrender their homes. They outlast rivals by persistence and familiarity. The reef changes with storms, bleaching, and seasonal shifts, but the moray's den remains its anchor. Their ecological influence extends beyond predation. By controlling specific dens, morays regulate the distribution of small fish and invertebrates. Prey species modify their nighttime movements to avoid moray-held zones. Even the flow of nutrients through the reef shifts as morays drag carcasses into their dens to feed safely. These dens become micro-ecosystems, attracting scavengers, worms, and smaller predators that feed on scraps left behind. In the end, what makes the moray eel the landlord of every hole is not intimidation alone. It is the way the eel blends environment, anatomy, strategy, and partnership. It rules not because it swims fastest or bites hardest, but because it understands the reef's architecture better than anything else. It knows the angles, the escape routes, the acoustics of each crevice. It knows which den provides the best ventilation, which hole offers backup exits, which crack allows it to ambush from above rather than below. The reef is a city. The moray eel owns the real estate. And in the dark, narrow places where sunlight never reaches, the landlord collects its rent in flesh. In the sunlit world of coral reefs, where every crevice hums with life and every column of water flickers with drifting colors, power is usually subtle. Small predators rely on agility, medium predators rely on speed, ambush predators rely on shadows and geometry. But there is one creature that rejects subtlety entirely. A colossal force wrapped in mottled patterns of green or brown, shaped not like a streamlined hunter, but like a boulder that learned how to move. The giant grouper enters the reef not as a ghost or a blade, but as mass, a mature grouper, broad as a dining table and heavy enough to rival a small shark, drifts through the reef with an authority that needs no demonstration. Its movement is slow, deliberate, and slightly buoyant, as though the water bends around it rather than the other way around. It does not sprint. It arrives. It does not chase. It takes position. Everything about its body, thick skull, cavernous mouth, dense musculature, speaks to a feeding strategy built on two principles: control space and eliminate escape routes. Sunbeams slice the warm surface water into golden beams, scattering across coral pillars and brain corals that form a labyrinth. In this vibrant mosaic of hiding places, small fish dart in and out of cover. Despite the beauty, there is tension in the scene. Because the grouper is awake, and when the heavy muscle of the reef decides to feed, the reef becomes quieter. A school of goatfish, usually busy combing through sand with their chin whiskers, pauses mid-feeding. A pair of rabbitfish, normally bold, alter their course to skirt the edge of a cave. Even the wrasse, masters of darting into cracks, maintain wider distances. The grouper announces nothing, but its presence reorganizes the reef. A curious parrotfish wanders too close to an overhang, scraping algae from a patch of dead coral. Below the ledge, completely still, except for the faint pulsing of gill covers, lies the grouper. Its body is pressed against the seafloor, pectoral fins flared outward for balance, tail drifting lazily. Its camouflage, mottled browns and greens, blends perfectly with the substrate. When the parrotfish lowers its guard, the grouper acts. The attack is not a chase, it is a vacuum strike. The grouper opens its mouth and the water around it collapses inward. The movement is so fast and so powerful that the surrounding water forms a visible vortex, dragging the parrotfish forward as though pulled by an invisible rope. Groupers do not rely on teeth to grip prey. Their jaws generate negative pressure strong enough to suck in prey nearly half their own size. In a fraction of a second, the parrotfish is engulfed whole. The grouper's jaws snap shut, and the ripple of displaced water fades as quickly as it appeared. The grouper settles again. No display, no growl, no theatrics. The heavy muscle of the reef does not need to advertise the kill. This feeding strategy influences entire fish communities. Prey species restructure their daily routines, feeding zones, and escape patterns around the grouper's territory. Certain corridors become no-fly zones for small fish. Certain caves, although rich in algae or plankton, are avoided because a grouper has been seen entering them once. The reef becomes divided into safe zones and danger zones, with boundaries drawn not by visible fences, but by widespread memory of what happened there. Beyond sheer force, the grouper wields a kind of intelligence shaped by its lifestyle. It does not chase blindly. It positions. It does not hunt continuously. It conserves. Its biggest advantage is the ability to choose when to strike, using patience as a weapon. A grouper may remain in the same crevice for hours, watching the traffic of prey above. It knows which fish retreat into which holes. It memorizes escape routes. And when it emerges again, slow, silent and immense, the entire neighborhood reacts. But the grouper's influence extends far beyond these solitary ambushes. Though often portrayed as blunt, unsophisticated muscle, groupers are surprising strategists and collaborators. In some regions, they form hunting partnerships with moray eels, alliances as astonishing as any mammalian hunting coordination. A grouper hovers near a crevice, tilting its massive head from side to side. This is the signal that researchers have documented for decades, an invitation to a moray eel. The moray emerges from the shadows like a ribbon pulled through stone, its green or brown body winding through coral with serpentine precision. Together, the two predators begin their joint operation. The grouper takes station outside a cave entrance, blocking the main escape route. The eel slips inside, weaving through the tight spaces where grouper cannot enter. Prey hiding within the cave face a nightmare. Stay hidden and risk being located by the moray's electrosensory precision, or bolt into open water where the grouper waits, jaws spread wide. The eel flushes prey with relentless pressure, forcing them to flee. The grouper performs the kill. And because both know this arrangement works, the partnership repeats, sometimes daily. These collaborative hunts are not random. Groupers actively recruit the same morays again and again, preferencing individuals that have proven themselves reliable. Some groupers even seek out octopuses, clever, shape-shifting predators capable of entering spaces too narrow even for morays. The octopus flushes, the grouper eats, and the octopus shares scraps. A temporary alliance, a temporary truce, a mutual benefit. This behavior reveals something important. Groupers understand opportunity. They know when collaboration increases success and when to go alone. They are not merely brawn. They are architects of strategy, using their size as leverage and the abilities of others as tools. These predators also interact with humans, sometimes peacefully, sometimes aggressively. A spearfisher enters the reef to hunt snapper or hogfish. The water is clear, the reef is vibrant. They dive, aim and fire a spear. The fish is hit, thrashing against the line. Before the diver can ascend, a shadow moves beneath them, a grouper. Large individuals have learned to associate the sound of spear guns with opportunities. They swoop in from below, engulfing the struggling fish, spear and all, in a single vacuum strike. The diver is left with an empty spear, and a plume of sand drifting upward. Some groupers become notorious for this behavior, known by local divers as tax collectors, taking a share of every catch. But the grouper's dominance is not endless. It faces threats from sharks, larger predatory fish, and humans. And yet, even in these challenges, the grouper's build and behavior provide resilience. Its dense bones allow rapid bursts of motion downward, letting it dive into crevices where sharks cannot reach. Its thick skin and broad scales protect against glancing bites. And its territorial knowledge, decades of learning complex reef layouts, gives it escape strategies that younger or less experienced predators lack. In ecological terms, groupers control space in a manner distinct from every other predator on your list. Sharks control open water, barracuda controls straight-line ambush zones, morays control crevices. But the grouper controls the corridors, the mid-sized spaces connecting reef rooms, the transitional chambers where prey decide whether to flee left or right, up or down. The grouper's size and feeding methods shape these decisions. It is not only the killer of the reef, it is the traffic controller, regulating how fish move, feed, and escape. At sunset, the reef cools, blue light deepens to violet, nocturnal feeders begin to stir. A grouper rests beneath a massive coral ledge, its eyes adjusting to the dim. It remains still for long periods, conserving strength while the reef transitions into night mode. Small fish seeking shelter after daylight feeding move toward the very cracks the grouper occupies. But as they approach, they sense the heavy presence beneath the ledge. The shift of water, the faint sound of gill movement, the pressure wave of something immense. They change direction. This is the reach of the grouper. Not merely in the jaws, not merely in the vacuum strike, but in the invisible geography of fear and respect carved into the reef by decades of dominance. When the grouper finally moves again, slow, deliberate, unstoppable, the reef makes space for it. It is the heavy muscle, the blunt enforcer, the predator whose power comes not from elegance, but from the unwavering confidence of something too strong to challenge and too patient to evade. The shallows of a tropical reef look harmless in the morning light. Sunbeams ripple across white sand, turning every grain into a mirror. Soft waves push over the coral flats, carrying the scent of warm salt and drifting plankton. Families snorkel above the bommies, unaware that beneath the glow and color, another world exists. One ruled not by sharks or rays or heavy reef predators, but by something thinner, quieter, and infinitely more dangerous. In the cracks between coral blocks, in the tangled maze where the reef meets the sand, something moves with a motion so smooth it almost looks like the water is folding over itself. A sea snake, slender and banded in bright yellow and black, slides across the bottom. Its tongue flicks. A tiny forked sensor that reads chemical cues like text, analyzing everything in the water around it. Its lungs stretch nearly the full length of its body. Its ribs expand and contract like a living bellows. And inside its fangs sits venom so potent that a single drop could shut down the respiratory system of a grown human before they reached shore. But the snake is not here for humans. It is hunting. The sea snake drifts through the water column with subtle S-shaped movements. Unlike fish, which carve the water with fins, the snake glides by, bending its entire body into elegant curves. Its scales catch the light, shimmering like polished metal. When it approaches a coral overhang, its body twists and loops with a flexibility no fish could mimic. It slips into a gap barely wider than a finger, disappearing into the darkness beneath the reef. This is where the assassins of the shallows do their work, in the tightest spaces, where prey believes itself safe. Inside the crevice, the snake's eyes adjust to darkness, its senses sharpen. It smells something, a faint chemical trace, barely perceptible in the salty flow of current. The scent belongs to an eel, a moray juvenile, hiding deep in the coral's interior chambers. Morays know the terrain better than nearly any reef predator, but against a sea snake, their home becomes a trap. The snake's long body navigates the crevice with practiced ease, looping around coral nodes, curling beneath sponge outcroppings, slipping between rock ridges. The moray senses motion and bolts, But the snake is faster in tight spaces. With a quick extension of its neck, it strikes, fangs punching into soft flesh. The venom begins working instantly, a cocktail of neurotoxins designed to shut down muscle movement, paralyze breathing, and incapacitate prey before it can struggle. The moray stiffens, body seized mid-wriggle. The snake holds the eel only briefly before releasing it, waiting for the paralysis to take full effect. Then, with slow precision, it consumes the eel head first, using backward-pointing fangs to guide the prey down. This predation is quiet, clean, efficient. Where sharks attack with explosive power and morays rely on sudden lunges, sea snakes kill with chemistry. Despite this, they remain some of the ocean's most misunderstood predators. Their venom is among the most powerful of any animal, yet they rarely bite unless provoked. Swimmers often drift within meters of them, even above them, without realizing what moves beneath. The snakes appear curious at times, swimming close, examining the fins of divers, inspecting floating objects. But curiosity is not aggression. These animals prefer to flee rather than fight. And their venom, though formidable, is a last resort. Still, danger lurks in their biology. A single bite from certain species contains enough neurotoxin to immobilize an adult human in minutes. Some venom components attack muscles, breaking them down from the inside. Others shut down nerve communication, leaving victims unable to breathe. Fatalities today are rare thanks to anti-venom and improved medical care, but the potency remains. These snakes are assassins not because they seek conflict, but because evolution refined them into perfect hunters within tight, oxygen-poor reef environments. Above the reef, a light breeze ripples the surface. Schools of fusiliers flash by like blue arrows. A turtle rises to breathe. But below, the snake continues its patrol through the labyrinth. It surfaces only occasionally, lifting the tip of its snout above water to inhale air before diving again for extended hunts. A sea snake's diving physiology is remarkable. Though it breathes air like a terrestrial snake, its skin also absorbs some oxygen directly from seawater. This supplement allows it to remain submerged longer than most air-breathing reptiles, effectively doubling its hunting window. The snake now emerges from the crevice, head lifting slightly, tongue flicking again. It senses movement ahead. Small fish scatter, clouding the water for a moment, but the snake ignores them. It is searching for something larger. It glides toward the patchy seagrass bordering the reef. Here, the world transitions from hard, tight coral to open, soft habitat. This edge zone is fertile hunting ground, a place where juvenile fish hide, where octopuses dart between shells, and where other snakes may be encountered. The snake pauses. Something stirs in the grass. The flicker of a tail, the ripple of sand disturbed. It approaches, body curving to investigate. The prey is a tilefish, its burrow partially collapsed after a night of excavating. The snake moves forward, head poised. The tilefish freezes, relying on camouflage and stillness. For a moment, the two animals remain locked in a silent standoff. Then the snake strikes. It darts forward in a blur, injecting venom with surgical speed. Unlike the eel, the tilefish has room to flee, but its muscles stiffen within seconds. The snake seizes it, coils around it loosely, and begins swallowing the immobilized prey whole. As it feeds, a pair of cleaner wrasses approach, picking at parasites along the snake's body, a subtle reminder that even assassins have roles within the reef's cooperative networks. But sea snakes are not solitary creatures all year. Once a season, something extraordinary happens along certain tropical coastlines. The assassins gather. It begins subtly, with a few males arriving in shallow bays. Then numbers increase. Dozens circling in the clear water, rising for air, looping through seagrass beds. Within days, hundreds may congregate. The water seems alive with movement, slender bodies weaving and overlapping, creating a fluid mesh that shifts with the tide. During these breeding aggregations, the normally calculated hunters become single-minded, driven by instinct. The males pursue females relentlessly, sometimes forming writhing knots that resemble tangled ropes caught in currents. They bump, coil, twist, not in aggression, but in courtship, each male attempting to align with a receptive female. The scene is striking. The same venomous predators that navigate the reef with such quiet purpose now transformed into a living carpet of intertwining bodies. During these events, sea snakes are often encountered by swimmers and divers who mistake the behavior for aggression. But the truth is simpler. The snakes are distracted, focused entirely on reproduction, not hunting. They may approach human legs or fins not to bite, but to check whether the shape matches their search. Though accidents can occur, their intent remains shy, confused, reactive rather than predatory. Once breeding concludes, the aggregation disperses. The snakes retreat back into their individual territories across vast stretches of reef, seagrass, and sandy flats. Females eventually give birth to live young, tiny replicas of themselves, fully equipped with venom and instinct. These juveniles face a world filled with predators, from larger fish to sharks to opportunistic seabirds. Yet many survive. Their slender bodies allow them to occupy the narrowest cracks of the reef, safe from threats that cannot follow. As the day dims and the reef settles into twilight, the sea snake resumes its silent roaming. Shadows deepen beneath coral ledges, the water cools. Nocturnal creatures emerge, but the snake remains undeterred by the darkness. Its senses operate just as sharply at night, perhaps even more so, as prey species lower their guard. A shark drifts overhead, gliding with the confidence of an apex predator, yet even it gives the snake a respectful berth. Not because the shark fears venom, sharks are often indifferent to toxins, but because they recognize the snake's unpredictable path and its potential to thrash violently when threatened. Predators learn which battles are worthwhile. A slender, fast-moving snake that can vanish into a coral crack in a single flick of its tail is not worth the trouble. In the end, the sea snake's dominance is subtle. It does not patrol open water like a shark. It does not overpower prey like a grouper. It does not dismantle coral like a Napoleon fish or claim dens like a moray. Instead, it exists in the tight, shadowed micro-habitats of the reef, a hunter adapted to the narrow spaces where other predators cannot follow. Its venom allows it to kill quickly and safely. Its body allows it to navigate terrain no finned creature can access. And its presence shapes the reef quietly, invisibly, through constant predation that regulates populations of eels, burrowing fish, and other small species that rely on hidden alcoves. The assassins of the shallows leave no trail, no splash, no disturbance. Only a ripple in the sand, a flicker in a crevice, a flash of banded scales, and the knowledge that the reef holds deadlier secrets than most swimmers ever realize. Silent, precise, untouchably lethal. The sea snake continues on its path, unseen, unchallenged, and essential. The image most people carry of seals has been shaped by decades of dramatic ocean footage. A dark fin slicing the surface, a shadow rising from below, a burst of foam, and the helpless shape of a seal being thrown skyward in a great white's infamous predatory breach. In that moment, the seal becomes the ultimate victim, the hunted, the vulnerable, the eternally unlucky. But that image is only half the truth. The other half lies beneath the ice shelves of the south, along rocky coasts, and in kelp forests, where the seals themselves are far from passive. They are hunters, they are tacticians. They are thieves, bullies, and opportunists, whose agility transforms them into mid-level mobsters of the ocean. Not the apex, but certainly not helpless. The first sign of this power shift emerges where the polar sea meets the ice. In the dim glow of an Antarctic sunrise, the ice edge crackles and groans under subtle pressure shifts. Beneath it, water as clear as glass reveals a world of shifting shadows. A group of Adelie penguins swim in tight formation just beneath the surface, preparing for a rapid ascent to the ice shelf. They move in bursts, short, explosive dashes broken by brief glides. Their danger is not the sky above, nor the distant silhouettes of killer whales patrolling open channels. It is the quiet ripple approaching from the side, a leopard seal. Long, sleek, and mottled in silver and charcoal, it slices horizontally through the water like a giant torpedo. Its head, shaped like a reptile's and armed with teeth designed to puncture and shred, tilts slightly as it analyzes the penguin's formation. Then it moves, not in the explosive vertical rush of a shark, but in a serpentine lateral attack that wedges into the penguin school and scatters it. The seal's jaws open wide, revealing trident-shaped teeth ideal for grabbing slippery prey. It grabs a penguin by the feet, shakes it violently to neutralize struggling, and then eats with a methodical calmness that contradicts the brutality of the moment. This is not the image of a helpless victim. This is a predator comfortable in its skin. Yet the leopard seal is only one face of the sealing world. Across cooler coasts where kelp forests sway in green-brown curtains and rocky shorelines form labyrinths of caves and channels, other seal species practice very different strategies. In these habitats, the roles of hunter and hunted blur, sometimes within the same hour. A harbor seal glides through a kelp forest with surprising grace. Its body is shaped like a water droplet, rounded, hydrodynamic, and capable of rapid bursts of speed. It spies a school of small squid migrating upward from deeper water. Squid are agile but predictable. They pulse in the water, darting in short lines but hesitant to break formation. The seal swivels, using its flexible spine to curve sharply between stands of kelp. As it approaches, it adjusts its buoyancy by controlling air within its lungs, allowing an almost weightless drift. This drifting technique enables a silent approach, masking the pressure waves that would normally alert squid to danger. Then the seal accelerates. Its jaws snap shut around a squid, tentacles wrapping briefly around its snout before going limp. The seal swallows quickly, then lunges again, catching another. Squid hunting is one of the moments where seals look most like the predators they truly are, using stealth, timing, and explosive speed to target prey far more elusive than fish. But these mid-level mobsters have another dimension: opportunism. Seals learn quickly, adapt rapidly, and take advantage of new feeding opportunities in ways many predators cannot. On some coastlines, seals have discovered that human fishing boats leave behind scraps, lines of bait, fish heads, and unwanted trimmings tossed overboard. These scraps attract fish, and fish attract seals. A single seal may hang beneath a vessel, waiting for fishermen to haul up a net or drop new lines. The seal knows exactly when to dive, exactly when to rise, and exactly how to snatch fish off a hook before the fisherman can react. These robberies are practiced with such precision that fishermen often recognize individual seals by behavior alone. Some are subtle thieves, others are brazen bullies. Yet seals are not only thieves. In some regions, such as around South Georgia or along Antarctic ice shelves, seals practice a form of gang behavior. At ice edges where penguins attempt to exit the water, several seals may position themselves beneath the opening, each taking a section of the perimeter. Their goal is not cooperative hunting in the style of orcas, but opportunistic interference. Each seal tries to intercept fleeing penguins before they launch onto the ice. If one seal startles the penguins into changing direction, another benefits. These loose groups form by chance, dissolve after feeding, and reform again depending on availability of prey. In other places, seals show a far darker side. Certain species, such as the Antarctic fur seal, occasionally attack smaller seals during territorial disputes or competition for mates. The aggression is swift and decisive, a reminder that these animals, though often portrayed as soft-eyed survivors, are still territorial mammals shaped by intense social pressure. But perhaps the most surprising behavior of all occurs when seals target seabirds. On subantarctic beaches, scientists have recorded seals chasing, catching, and eating penguins, not in water, but on land. These hunts require coordination and timing, as seals must predict the penguin's movement and strike before they escape into the surf. The image of a seal dragging a penguin down a rocky slope or ambushing one in a narrow channel is one of the ocean's most powerful role reversals, the victim deciding that it refuses to be prey. In warmer waters, seals shift strategies entirely. Off the Californian coast, sea lions, distant relatives of seals, use agility and teamwork to pursue schools of sardines. They herd the fish toward the surface, corralling them into tight bait balls. Their movements are synchronized, forming spirals that concentrate prey for easy capture. This tactic mirrors the hunting strategies of dolphins and tuna, revealing how seals can adopt methods used by top-tier predators when needed. These hunts require breath control that borders on extraordinary. When chasing fish, seals regulate their body temperature by controlling blood flow to extremities, reducing heat loss and allowing longer dives. Their muscles store oxygen more efficiently than those of most animals, thanks to high concentrations of myoglobin. They can descend rapidly, chase aggressively, and return to the surface in time to exhale and reset for another pursuit. All this paints a picture of seals not as helpless prey, but as adaptable predators, opportunistic feeders, and survivors in ecosystems layered with danger. But the victim narrative still holds truth. Seals are hunted relentlessly by sharks and orcas. They live with constant risk. This constant threat has shaped their agility. Their bodies can twist in water with spine-flexing precision. Their whiskers, highly sensitive to vibrations, detect pressure waves from predators approaching from behind. Their eyes, adapted for low light, allow them to track movement even in murky or dim conditions. When a great white shark rises from below, the seal has a small but crucial advantage. It is more maneuverable. If a seal detects the shark early enough, it can pivot in tight arcs that outmatch the shark's wide turning radius. These evasive maneuvers explain why sharks must use ambush tactics, the breach from below, to succeed. A shark cannot win a horizontal chase against a healthy seal. The seal is simply too agile. So the seal lives in a balance, predator and prey, hunter and hunted, mobster and target. This duality drives its behavior, shaping everything from feeding strategies to group positioning near ice edges. By late afternoon on an Antarctic bay, the ice glows orange under the setting sun. Penguins gather again along the edge, preparing to dive. A few seals patrol beneath them. The air is cold enough to turn breath into mist, and the water is darkening. As penguins take the plunge, seals respond, lunging, swerving, biting. But many penguins escape, leaving the seals to drift back into the calm, cooling water. Far below, a squid rises through the dim light. A seal descends, body sleek, motion fluid. It strikes, consumes, and rises again. Above them, an orca fin breaks the surface, a reminder that even predators must remain vigilant. In this layered world of ice and water, the seals continue to swim. Not victims, not victors, but living contradictions, shaped by a life on the edge of both roles. They learn to hit back. And in the cold, shifting waters of the south, they must, every single day. They stand on the ice like a crowd waiting for a bus, heads bobbing, wings dangling at their sides, postures stiff in the cold wind. At first glance, penguins appear clumsy, comedic, and almost helpless, as if nature designed them to be prey long before predator. Their waddling gait, the awkward hop between ice ridges, and the instinctive group huddling all paint an image of harmless innocence. But the moment they leave the ice and enter the sea, the instant their bodies break the surface and descend into the blue, everything changes. The transformation is absolute. The comedy vanishes. What emerges below the surface does not resemble the gentle bird standing on the ice minutes earlier. It is a torpedo. It is a precision hunter. It is a feathered missile designed by evolution to turn entire underwater food webs into chaos. The ocean beneath a penguin rookery is a hunting arena shaped by light and temperature. As the sun arcs low over Antarctic waters, narrow beams penetrate the surface, glowing green where they strike suspended algae and silt. Beneath this shimmering layer lies a vertical column of zooplankton, krill, and baitfish. Animals that migrate daily, rising at night to feed and sinking during the day to hide from predators. Penguins know this rhythm intimately. Their survival depends on anticipating when prey will be shallow enough to pursue yet concentrated enough to be worth the energy of a dive. A single penguin slips from the ice edge. Its fall is deliberate, as if surrendering itself to gravity. But once submerged, its wings, which look almost vestigial in air, unfold into stiff, blade-like flippers. These flippers do not flap downward in the gentle arc of a seabird. They rotate in sweeping strokes like the wings of a hawk locked in a stoop. Each stroke generates thrust not from downward push, but from the subtle pressure differentials created along the flat leading edge. This allows penguins to accelerate with startling efficiency, reaching speeds that rival many fish. Soon, more penguins dive in. Dozens follow the first, then hundreds. Beneath them, the water becomes a storm of shifting shapes. Schools of baitfish sense the pressure waves generated by the descending birds, and the school begins to contract. Fish do not simply flee individually. They fuse into tighter formations, hoping that collective movement will confuse their attackers. But penguins are built for this. Their streamlined bodies slice between fish lines in clean, unbroken trajectories. Unlike seals, which must chase and corner prey with wide arcs, penguins pivot with razor-sharp angles. Their flexible necks allow them to strike sideways without altering their course. When closing on prey, they accelerate in short bursts, using stored elastic energy in their flippers to snap from cruising speed into a rapid chase. The school responds by tightening again, compressing into a shimmering cloud. This compression is exactly what the penguins want. It reduces escape options. It forces prey into predictable, repeated patterns. It also means more prey within reach of each dive, making the energy cost of hunting far more efficient. Many large predators, tuna, dolphins, sharks, must rely on overwhelming force or endurance to corner baitfish. Penguins use numbers and geometry. Their movements are synchronized even without direct communication. When one bird turns sharply upward, the one beside it mirrors the motion. When the school shifts sideways, penguins reorient as a single fluid mass. This coordination emerges from simple rules. Follow the nearest bird's direction, match speed, avoid collisions. Those rules are enough to create emergent group behavior that looks intentional. To a diver watching from below, a penguin hunting swarm resembles a flock of birds performing a complex aerial dance. Only the dance happens underwater, and every twist marks an attempt to kill. As the hunt intensifies, penguins exhale underwater in controlled bursts. These bubbles serve several purposes. By reducing internal volume, they reduce buoyancy, allowing deeper dives with less energy. The bubbles also create sudden, confusing visual patterns for prey. Some scientists believe this bubble trail disrupts the fish's lateral line system, making it harder for the school to detect approaching predators. A penguin speeding upward through a cloud of its own bubbles becomes nearly invisible until the final instant. The fish, panicked and tightly clustered, begin the frantic escape spiral, a last resort tactic used by many schooling species. The spiral only compresses the school further, making it more vulnerable. A penguin accelerates vertically through the spiral, beak open, snapping up several fish at once before rolling onto its side and twisting downward again. It does not stop. Penguins cannot chew, so each fish is swallowed whole mid-flight, the body sliding down the throat as the bird prepares for another strike. At the edge of this underwater battlefield, predators watch the chaos for their own advantage. Leopard seals sometimes patrol around penguin hunting rings, catching birds as they surface to breathe. Orcas, in some locations, skirt the outskirts of large penguin diving groups, hoping to intercept stragglers. Even seabirds above water track the movement of penguins, ready to snatch leftover fish scraps carried upward during the surge. Yet even with enemies surrounding them, penguins maintain a relentless pace. Their physiology supports this intensity. Their bones are denser than those of flying birds, reducing buoyancy and allowing deeper, more stable dives. Their feathers trap microscopic layers of insulating air, preventing rapid heat loss even in near-freezing water. Under the feathers, thick layers of fat provide additional insulation and help sustain long hunts. Oxygen is stored not just in the lungs, but in muscles rich with myoglobin, giving penguins a capacity for anaerobic burst movements that most birds lack. When penguins ascend to refill oxygen levels, they do so with precision. They align themselves beneath an open channel or a patch of thinner ice, rising in smooth vertical lines. Just before breaking the surface, they release a final burst of bubbles, which reduces drag by minimizing pressure difference between their body and the water around it. This supercavitation-like effect allows them to porpoise out of the water, shooting upward in graceful arcs that carry them several feet above the surface. While this behavior is often described as playful, it actually serves two critical purposes: rapid breathing during travel and predator avoidance at surfacing points. If the dive lasted especially long, penguins rest briefly on the ice, their bodies steaming in the cold air, but rest is temporary. The ocean demands constant movement, and the colony depends on each bird's ability to gather food efficiently. Thousands of chicks wait inland, requiring high-calorie meals delivered as semi-digested fish. A single penguin must gather enough to feed itself and its chick repeatedly throughout the season. The stakes of every dive escalate because failure means hunger, not just for the hunter, but for its offspring. Eventually, the tide of the hunt begins to shift. The school of baitfish thins. The swirling patterns lose density. Penguins begin spreading out rather than clustering. Some return to the surface to swim home. Others descend for more solitary foraging. The frenzy ebbs, leaving behind drifting scales and a faint shimmer of disturbance in the water. The ocean calms. The predators disperse. Only when they return to land does the myth reassert itself. The idea that penguins are gentle, harmless creatures waddling awkwardly across white plains. But now, the viewer understands that the truth lies below the surface. Penguins live in one of the harshest ecosystems on Earth, where survival requires precision, speed, and cooperation so intense that it borders on mathematical choreography. Their transformation from clumsy land bird to underwater executioner is one of nature's most dramatic illusions. A penguin standing on the ice is a parent. A penguin diving into the water is a weapon. And a penguin hunting with its colony is a storm. A coordinated, relentless force that can turn entire baitfish populations into swirling panic. They are feathered torpedoes, and in the silent blue beneath the ice, nothing moves quite like them. The surface of the northern Pacific looks calm at first glance. A broad sheet of grey-blue water, broken only by drifting mats of kelp. Sunlight filters between long fronds that rise from the seafloor like the trunks of an underwater forest, creating a cathedral of swaying amber columns. Small fish weave between the leaves, snails graze the stems, and crabs patrol the base of the stalks. It appears peaceful, almost idyllic, a quiet world ruled by gentle cycles of tide and sunlight. But this calm hides a far more ruthless system. The kelp forest survives not because it is stable, but because it is defended. Somewhere along the drifting surface canopy, a sea otter rolls lazily among the fronds, its fur catching beads of water that sparkle in the afternoon light. It looks harmless, almost comical, a fuzzy shape lounging on its back while grooming or cracking a shell on its belly. Yet this small mammal is the enforcer of the entire ecosystem, a floating mob boss whose daily decisions determine whether the kelp thrives or collapses into ruin. Beneath the otter, down through the kelp columns, the real threat waits. Sea urchins creep across the rocks in slow, silent waves. They are not predators in the classic sense. They do not chase or ambush, they simply devour. Their teeth, intricate, grinding structures made of calcite crystal, scrape away everything they touch. A healthy kelp forest can withstand some grazing, but if urchins multiply unchecked, they form what ecologists call an urchin front, a slow-moving army that mows down kelp stalks until nothing remains. When otters disappear from a coastline, this is exactly what happens. The forest turns into a dead zone of barren rock, littered with purple spines. Fish vanish, crabs vanish. The three-dimensional structure that sheltered countless species collapses into a flat wasteland. And the only line between vibrant forest and empty desert is the sea otter drifting at the surface, looking far cuter than any true racketeer should. The otter's power comes from its enormous metabolic demands. Unlike seals and whales, it does not rely on thick layers of fat to stay warm in cold water. Its insulation is its fur, the densest of any animal on Earth, with millions of hairs per square inch that trap microscopic air pockets. But to maintain this fur and keep its body temperature stable, the otter must eat constantly. A single individual consumes a significant fraction of its own body weight every day. Its survival depends on finding high-calorie prey quickly and reliably. This has turned the otter into an opportunistic predator, specializing in animals that would otherwise dominate the kelp ecosystem. Urchins, abalone, crabs, large clams. The otter hunts them all with a relentless appetite. Watch the otter dive, and its gentle image fractures. It tucks its limbs, folding into a bullet shape before slipping below the surface. Its thick fur traps enough air to make it buoyant, so it must swim downward with strong strokes of its hind feet. As it descends through the kelp forest, it becomes a shadow among the stems, weaving between blades of giant kelp with ease. A faint trail of bubbles marks its path. Its eyes adjust to the shifting light, scanning the seafloor for movement. Then, with remarkable dexterity, the otter begins to forage among rocks and crevices. It reaches with nimble forepaws, feeling for shells, prying apart stones, flipping over small boulders in search of hidden prey. When it finds an urchin, the transformation is complete. The otter grips the spiny orb delicately to avoid punctures, then rises back toward the surface with practiced speed. Yet the otter does not eat immediately. As it floats on its back, it reveals the secret weapon that elevates it above ordinary predators. Tools. The otter anchors a flat stone on its belly, positioning it against its chest fur. This stone serves as an anvil, a portable workbench carried everywhere the otter goes. With rapid, precise strikes, it smashes the urchin against the rock, fragments dropping into the water as it pries out the nutrient-rich insides. Few predators use tools, and fewer still rely on them daily. The otter's tool use mirrors the behavior of a specialist craftsman, not just opportunistic, but deliberate, skilled, and culturally transmitted from mother to pup. The floating pup beside the adult watches closely. Wrapped in thick fur that traps air so effectively it resembles a puffed life jacket, the pup cannot dive yet. It drifts on the surface, sometimes anchored to kelp by its mother, to prevent it from drifting away. These floating nurseries create an almost tender tableau, but the lesson being passed down is far from gentle. The pup studies how the adult cracks shells, flips rocks, pries open crabs, and dismantles the defenses of prey that would defeat nearly any other predator of its size. Because sea otters do not simply eat, they manipulate their environment, turning the kelp forest into a territory they police through repeated skilled predation. This predation has cascading effects. When otters feed heavily on urchins, urchin populations remain low. Without constant grazing pressure, kelp grows tall and dense, reaching from the seafloor to the surface like a submerged forest canopy. These towering plants create habitat for fish, including species important to human fisheries. They absorb carbon, moderate wave energy, and provide shelter from predators. In every measurable way, the presence of otters transforms the coastline into a thriving, productive ecosystem. Remove the otter, and all of that collapses. Urchins explode in number, kelp disappears, fish decline, seabirds lose nesting habitat. Even coastal erosion increases because kelp no longer buffers storm surge. The otter is not merely another predator, it is a keystone species exerting control far beyond its size. The kelp forest's complexity extends deeper into its ecological dynamics. Each frond, each holdfast, and each stalk creates micro-habitats. Hermit crabs shelter beneath the canopy. Juvenile fish feed among drifting leaves. Sea stars hunt along the bottom. And weaving through all of this are otters, patrolling the edges like territorial guardians. Their feeding activity shapes the density of prey in each area. Their movement encourages kelp growth by preventing overgrazing. They even influence the distribution of predators such as octopuses, which must avoid areas that otters frequent. The otter's influence radiates through the food web like invisible pressure, keeping the entire system in balance. Some scientists describe otters as ecosystem engineers, but the term hardly captures the intensity of their role. They behave more like enforcers who maintain order through targeted violence. When an urchin front begins to form, otters move in quickly, consuming the densest patches first. They do not eliminate urchins entirely. Doing so would be energetically inefficient, but they thin their numbers enough to prevent large-scale collapse. Their selective feeding creates mosaics of kelp patches interwoven with small urchin clusters, a dynamic balance that supports maximum diversity. In areas where otters have returned after long absence, the transformation is astonishing. Barren seafloors covered in purple urchins shift in a few seasons into rich kelp forests filled with fish, crabs, and marine mammals. Yet the otter's dominance is fragile. Because their fur provides insulation instead of fat, Otters are extremely vulnerable to oil spills and pollution. An oiled otter cannot maintain body heat. Even small amounts of contamination can be fatal. This vulnerability makes the kelp forest's racketeer surprisingly mortal, and ecosystems that rely on otters become dangerously unstable when human pollution enters the water. Entire coastlines have seen their kelp forests vanish due to an otter decline triggered by environmental disasters. The consequences ripple outward, affecting fisheries, coastal stability, and biodiversity. Despite their vulnerability, otters still exert extraordinary control when present. Their social groups cluster in rafts, floating assemblies of dozens or even hundreds of individuals drifting together through kelp beds. These rafts create safety in numbers, reduce exposure to predators such as sharks and orcas, and help otters maintain proximity to key feeding zones. From above, a raft looks like a patchwork of furry bodies, each grooming, feeding, or resting. But beneath this calm surface is constant communication, pup calls, grooming interactions, subtle shifts in position that reflect territorial boundaries. These rafts serve as the otter's version of a neighborhood: shared space, shared food sources, and shared responsibilities. The bond between mother and pup is especially critical, not just for survival but for cultural continuity. Tool use, prey preferences, and specific hunting techniques are passed down through observation. Some otter populations specialize in crabs, others in clams, and others in urchins. These traditions shape the structure of local ecosystems. In areas where otters prefer crabs, urchin numbers rise, kelp declines, and fish populations shift. Where otters prefer urchins, kelp forests flourish. The otter's learned behavior becomes a generational influence on entire communities of marine life. As the sun drops lower, the kelp forest becomes a darker, more shadowed environment. Light fades in shifting gradients, and dusk predators emerge. But the otter continues its work. It dives again and again, rotating between prey types to maintain local balance. Meanwhile, urchins remain confined to sparse patches. Crabs retreat into crevices. Fish shelter among kelp. Everything fits into a delicate, constantly evolving network, one that depends on the otter's constant patrolling. The next morning, as fog rolls across the water and the kelp canopy shimmers in gentle waves, the otter raft drifts near the coastline once more. A pup rides on its mother's belly, drying in the cool air, bundled in dense fur that traps heat. Below them, the kelp forest stretches out like a submerged metropolis, towers of living plant matter rising from the seafloor, home to thousands of species. This entire city exists because of one simple truth. The otter eats the things that would otherwise destroy it. Small predator, huge consequence. The kelp forest's future rests in the paws of an animal that floats on its back, cracks shells with rocks, and looks harmless enough to hug. But beneath the cuteness lies the reality. The sea otter is the racketeer of the kelp forest, the guardian of the underwater neighborhood, and the one creature whose presence decides whether the forest stands tall or turns to ruin. The otter runs this place, and everything else knows it.